have it Tuesday. Oh,
Yeah,
every
I thought.
Tuesday we could.
I mean, I think his day has been really busy, so maybe he's just hurrying to get ready, and I
Yeah, he
can.
didn't really message
All
much
right,
from last time.
I started it up. We're a little bit late,
Is
a
Robert
day
not gonna be
late.
here?
No, Robert said he wasn't gonna make it. So welcome to
Okay.
the Tuesday edition of Juices Loose.
Okay.
My brother drove in from Colorado. We got in yesterday, and we got pizza and stuff. And I couldn't really say no to that. I usually do turn down just about every dinner invite. There's Clocked It.
There it is.
Yeah,
I get a
he
lot
said
of.
he
It
just
seems
fell
like I always
asleep.
get dinner invites and stuff on Mondays, and I'm like, I told you the one day a week that I can't do anything.
Right.
That's the one everybody I get invited to. It's like
But you don't have to explain. That's. I mean, come on.
it's just like
That's your family.
I know, but it's just funny how I mean Tuesday through Sunday, I have usually nothing going on.
Yeah, it happens like that all the time.
It's always Monday. Oh, we're getting together for your brother's birthday. When's his birthday? Saturday. Why are we getting together on Monday? Jesus.
Of all days, it's a weird day.
It's just like that, man. It's just always like that.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Look at this
There he
motherfucker.
is.
I was wondering. I thought you were gonna be here.
I fell asleep, man.
It is late over there. from
My
what I
favorite,
understand.
one of my favorite podcasts in recent memory was when you just jumped in like an hour in because the time changed, and it was like the most awake and like you had been in a long time. You were like really excited, but
Yeah, I blame the wife. Earlier, I was like, man, I'm so tired. I was so tired. She goes, why do you have a nap before the podcast? I'm like, sure, I never have a nap. You're right. Look what happens, man. So I ain't napping again.
I had to take a nap on Sunday at like 6 o'clock. I've had some sinuses that just draining me. And then I woke up at like 7:30, and I made another half hour. I was like, I gotta go to bed. I was just beat. And
Yeah.
but last night I was wide awake till like 11. So, but anyway, what's up, everybody? Back with a Tuesday edition of the Juices Loose. Like I said in the beginning, Robert probably isn't gonna make it, so it's just us. Let's just get in. He loves to do the what have you been playing, so since he's not here, we'll definitely do it right now. Anybody start or beat any new games in the last week or so?
I'll
I
go
did.
first then if everybody's quiet. I actually
Lose
first
it.
started 2 games. I started Biomutant. I didn't get to talk about it last time. It actually only just released. It's an open world game which I'm having a lot of fun with it. I like it that you can create like an animal character. I like the animal creator and stuff. I like discovering the world. What they originally said the game would be and what's released, it's a bit more janky than even I would like, but I'm having a lot more fun with it. I've put like 20 hours in it shit already, I think. And if you want to bring it back up, I actually made my N64 video and I talked about like Star Fox 64, which is one of my favorite Nintendo 64 games. So I started playing for Star Fox Zero. And I've said it
Yeah, they
before and
can.
I'll say it
Yeah,
again
don't
because
say
people
hate.
need to know this game is like the first level is really beautiful and stuff, but that game is like dog shit, like he would say, man. I do not like it at all. And Juice likes to say that I'm
He always
over
starting shit.
exaggerating.
Well, let me
and
ask
shit,
Clark.
you know?
He doesn't know. He doesn't know who said what.
Yeah, so
In
I'll
Star
just say it
Fox,
like-
do you count Corneria as one mission, or do you count the on-rail section as one, the boss battle as two, and some other random thing as a third mission?
Because here's the thing, I said it's been 15 missions, and I had one on-rail section with the R-Wing. Juice is like, dude, there's like 12 chapters, but I'm like, but I'm like chapter 8, but every chapter is subdivided in like 2 or 3
That's
missions.
what I was
though.
asking
And,
Clark
like in the beginning, in mission 2 or something, you begin in an R-Wing dogfight, and then you go in the fucking stupid chicken, and then you have the gyro with stupid Rob the robot. There's like 3 different missions in one level. So it's 3 missions where I could have had an R-Wing, but I didn't,
What do you
So
think,
since the
Clark?
beginning
Is
of
that
the
3
game-
missions or 1?
Why are you putting me into it?
I'm
for,
just
man?
asking as a Star Fox fan, because
I don't know why we've done this. We should have let this alone.
I count that as one mission because there's one gold medal attached. Unless there's gold medals for each section, I can't remember. It's been too many years, but
Yeah.
to me that's one
I
mission.
kind of. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the mindset where if there's one, main objective, one gold medal, or one main objective, then that's a level to me.
But-
Unless of
I think maybe they do score it after each section. So, I guess I could give it some credence, but
we go by your rules. Like, I don't care. Okay, fine. I'm at chapter 8. I had one level with an on-rail R-Wing section. The rest has been fucking chickens and shit. It's stupid. No, that's stupid, man. Fuck off.
What about the on rails
Goddamn
Landmaster? Because you
chicken.
love the Landmaster.
I love the Landmaster. I had 2 on-rail sections. Yeah, like, great, dude. That's 2 and, like, 8 missions and shit. But one of them was the R-Wing. I want to play fucking Star Fox, not, like, goddamn, like, baby shit looking at the... Man, this is tinky-winky shit. Looking at the gamepad, driving the little robot around the corner. Because that's literally all you're doing. It's not even complicated shit. I'm sorry. It's stupid. I can't
Somebody, somebody just opened a breakfast drink. I feel like a breakfast drink just joined our discussion here talking about Star Fox, if you know what I mean. Orange in color, you know.
Oh, I see what you've done there. I see what you've done.
I was looking at the game. Either way, I mean, most people didn't like Star Fox Zero. I liked it for what it was, and I actually had fun when I started trying to get golds on every mission.
I like Star Fox Zero. It's not perfect, but I like it.
That Robert doesn't have to hear that bullshit, man.
There's that it's not perfect disclaimer.
So I was surprised you hadn't played it yet. Honestly,
This isn't perfect either. And I hated it. So there you go.
Jesus.
I love Avatar.
Because I bought it at launch. No, I didn't buy it at launch. And then a few months later, it was on sale, really cheap. So I picked it up and I never started it.
Fan.
I'm not joking. I was literally afraid to start playing this because of all the gamepad shit, and I was right. But I felt like playing Star Fox because of Man 64 video, and I figured we might as well just start this one instead of playing the 64 version. I wish I just started the N64 version at this point.
So much anger.
So,
you'll never see Star Fox again.
I never played Star Fox
Fox
Guard.
as well.
I never played that.
It's quite funny.
Never played it.
No, it's still sealed.
Say what?
It's a free game.
God.
Why would you?
That might be worth something, man. I kept keeping it sealed.
That's
Yeah,
shit weird.
that
weird
was
shit.
Someday.
Like $3 on eBay.
It's quite funny how Retro moans about there not being enough on-rail sections, even though there are more than one on-rail sections in the game with the R-Wing. But I love on-rails, Star Fox. But I honestly wouldn't care if a whole Star Fox game became full Rogue Squadron, full 3D, just like many of the levels are within that game. And I think
Starlink.
no, you get Star Fox isn't just about on rails. Don't get me wrong. I do love the on rail sections, and there is a place for them. But if the game ever decided to completely ditch on rails and go full 3D for all of its levels, I wouldn't have too many complaints as long as the levels are great now.
Yeah, me neither. Because I think we tend to forget a lot of this stuff is based on limitation of hardware. If they could have done a full-on 3D Star Fox on Super Nintendo, you think they wouldn't have done that shit? Like, of course they would have. A lot of the on-rail stuff is, based on the hardware you have at the time, and they didn't open up until 64 because they could, And then look at what happened with Assault. Like Assault was assault of different, ways to play. So
yeah, I actually.
To me, Star Fox isn't tied to on rails. That's why I love what happened in Starlink. I didn't miss the on-rail stuff, fighting in the R-Wing. It was just fun as shit. So to me, it doesn't have to be stuck to that,
A Star Fox Command, pretty much went, that full 3D, and that Star Fox 2.
Did you play Command, Retro?
What is that? I don't think I own that one.
That's on the Nintendo DS.
I don't own any of the handheld ones.
Oh.
Yeah. But like I said, I do like that Star Fox mixes it up. But like I said, I wouldn't complain if it did decide to go full.
It'd have to do, because I did like the one when you go in like that Halo like ring, and once you get in there, it opens up.
Yeah.
I felt like that was probably the top open all range mode of any. Because honestly, Star Fox 64, that was my least favorite part. In the R-Wing was the all-range mode. I still like that better than like the underwater and Landmaster. It was give or take. I liked a couple Landmaster, or I like one of Landmaster.
That shit said all range mode and the fucking
But
camera turn.
the thing with
my
there
head
wasn't
went-
a whole lot of going on. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of enemies, and that was me and my buddies played the multiplayer one time because it's just 3-4 guys dogfighting, and it's like you rarely encountered them. Like, it was just very slow, and it just always.
And what you would
With
have
the
liked
whole
as well.
Star Wolf? No. Like, how else would you fight? Have Star Wolf without all range? Like, how does
Yeah, I
that
mean,
I like the all range.
I think
stuff.
they improved
like,
upon it in
the
Zero.
N64. The N64 introduced the all range stuff, and it worked. And I like the all range stuff in Starlink. My problem with Star Fox Zero with the all range stuff is that it doesn't work. It's badly programmed. I said this before the podcast. It's like there's somebody behind me. I'm boosting all the way to the end of the level. Make a flip. This dude is instantly behind me. He's always behind me. I'm literally pulling down on the brake, pulling my joystick all the way to the bottom left to try and make a turn to try and hit this bitch. And then I do a flip and he's still behind me. It's badly programmed.
That sounds like a get
Starlink
good.
does the same
That's
thing.
not
That sounds
I
like
can
a good
fucking
get
report that
good
shit.
situation because
Yeah,
can
man,
report
that's
that
what I'm
shit.
thinking.
That's
Like,
not get
Starlink
good.
does that, and you just have to do a maneuver, and you're behind them, and you can like that.
it's a I
To
will
me, that shit
agree.
was exhilarating. I found that fun and exhilarating.
I
It's
thought
like,
it
oh,
was
this guy's
especially
really on me.
above
Can't shake
Venom.
him.
Yeah, I thought that, but I will agree that you just had to basically just do the same couple maneuvers every time somebody got on your tail. It was like flip and then hit your brake or whatever it was. You know,
Yeah, but were you really thinking that in 1997?
no, I'm talking
Oh,
about
man,
in
it's only
Zero. I'm talking about in Zero. I remember
Okay.
thinking
Yeah,
like,
but-
man, I wish there was a
See,
little.
that's
If,
funny because that is my issue with Zero. My issue with Zero is that it hadn't moved on too much from Star Fox 64.
Yeah.
So
But
that was
I-
my
what I will
problem with
say,
Zero.
To give credit to Zero in terms of this argument, what I will say is Zero did evolve upon that and give you more options because, as example, when you are fighting Star Wolf and stuff, instead of having to do the continuous, loop and stuff to try and get behind them and invade them, you could turn into the chicken walker and then land on the floor, and then they'd fly off, and then you'd be chasing after them down the tunnels and stuff, trying to shoot them. So the options came
It's
in.
about how you play it, right? Like,
And I think it
maybe you weren't
gets.
playing it good.
I think once you get more acclimated to the controls, because
The problem with the controls work perfect for me.
like using this to aim with the screen, once
Retro makes me laugh. So he's like,
and the
I
gyro
love
controls.
controversial stuff with Star Fox. He loves the controls, but it's not the on rail section.
I they take away half your control.
I would prefer more
responsiveness and
on
all that
rails.
shit, and then like the way the buttons are divided and all that kind of shit. The controls have no problem. I'm doing like even what you said, like that. I'm not even like looking at the gamepad because it's fucking annoying. I'm just looking at my TV and using it as gyro, and it works. I have no problems with the controls.
Gyro shit
I know a
is
lot of
amazing.
people complain about that, but nah. I've no
I
issue
found
with
for
control.
me personally, the dogfighting was way like it elevated for me when I actually started looking at the screen and using my TV as to see where they are. And I was looking basically in the first person mode, and I would peek up at the TV. Okay, he's over here. I'll turn to the right. That's how I started playing. And when I went for gold medals, that was kind of the go-to to get gold. So, but it's one of those divisive games, and I'd be curious.
It was just a step back for me. It was like, okay, Assault really opened things up and all this cool stuff. And then even with DS, is it called? Just Star Fox?
Command.
No, it's called what's the DS one called?
just
Star Fox
3D.
64, I think actually.
Was it Star
Huh?
Fox 64 3D or Star Fox?
No,
Yeah, I
no,
think that's-
DS.
Oh, you're talking about Command.
Command, right. So like even Command added some new stuff to it. And then Star Fox Zero is just like, oh, we're gonna start back to go to Star Fox 64.
You know what's gonna happen?
And this is like that was my biggest problem with the game.
I'm calling this right now. Mark this on your calendar. June 29th, 2021. At some point, Nintendo's going to reveal a Star Fox game for the Switch. And it's going to be... Star Fox Zero is going to be the number one selling game on the Wii U eShop. And people are going to be complaining because they can't find a copy. Nintendo, why did you keep making copies? I can't find this and now it's impossible. And it's going to be like...
I saw that argument. I was just like, man.
That argument is fair when it comes to like Torna and shit. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but somebody's making it about
yeah,
Return to
it's
Samus.
With modern hardware, but we're talking about 3DS games.
Yeah, somebody has made that argument with
you're
Samus
talking about
Returns.
old- yeah.
Like, you expect... I mean, it came out in 2017, but you're literally mad at
Right.
Nintendo for not having Samus Returns on the shelf at a store? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I mean, the stores...
Is it astronomical? I saw it for like $45.
For a discontinued console,
Yeah, anyway...
Online.
I want to get into a little bit of a conversation about, we'll talk about the Wii U eShop in the Metroid's game selling, but I picked up a game on Amazon Prime Deals Day. Returnal dropped for like a couple hours to $49.99, so I picked that up, and I'm really enjoying it. I just uploaded a video from recorded like on Saturday, and I mean it's a really fun game. I did feel my first like kick to the nuts though when I was about 2 hours in on a really long run. And actually that video I just uploaded today is the start of that run, or the beginning parts of it. I went for like another hour and a half. I had just awesome weapons, and this new boss that I thought was like a mini boss was actually, it was a new enemy introduction, so it becomes a new regular enemy. And I died, and I was so devastated that I haven't played it, I think, since Saturday, because it was a tough loss. So I don't know how I'm gonna keep handling that, or if it's gonna become a problem, but I know I've died like 13 times total, and the guy from Girlfriend Reviews, Matt, he beat the whole game on 14 deaths. So I'm feeling like my skills are definitely not up to snuff, but it's really enjoyable. And for $50, I mean, well worth that for sure. I don't know if $70 if I'd feel it, but for 50, it was a great deal. And I'm hearing an echo, by the way.
YouTube thousandaire, and you can dedicate yourself to playing video games all the damn time, and you can do it in 14 tries as well. Like, you can't compare yourself to the people who do that. So
I learned that quickly. Where you think you're good at something, especially with video games.
Yeah.
And then the internet came along.
Yeah. He's definitely.
And that's
really
why you
good
start
at
watching the internet after that point.
Here's me like, yeah, man, put FC or GX online. I kick everyone's ass. And you see with those FC or GX speed runs and stuff. You're just like, man, who the fuck are these Jedi Knights, man?
But they dedicate. You got to also see that they might be really good at F-Zero GX, but suck at everything else because they spend all their time is getting
dedication,
really
man.
GX. So I would rather play a bunch of games and than be really good at one.
And that's the one thing I will say. There was an article where someone said that they started Returnal and they got like really far in a couple runs, and they decided to start over and die more often. I could see for the story in like the beginning, but honestly, that game, you don't want to die. If you're hour and a half, you got like a 9-star rated weapon, and your health upgrades aren't permanent, which was a real bummer. So I guess that'd be my one complaint, is like they expect you to build up your health as well as find weapons and fight harder enemies each time you play, and I'm like, at least give me something a little, like, make my health maybe be harder to find, but your upgrades are permanent, because it's like, now I'm playing through the first biome and everything's kind of tougher now because I beat the first boss, and I'm having trouble getting to the second biome again. Like, it's a little bit more punishing than I think it needs to be. Just give me some health upgrade that's permanent or something, because otherwise, I'm spending more time trying to get my health upgraded and finding a good weapon before I move on. And I guess we'll see how that pans out by the time I'm done with the game. But
that's a very strange way to do it, because like I really want to at one point play that game, because when I look at your videos, they look fucking gorgeous, those levels and shit. I really want to play that. There's a strange way to do that for a rogue, in my opinion, where normally the more you play it, the easier it should get to get through the first level.
Yeah, that's what I expected.
Certain upgrades, or you get certain special bonuses and shit. It's very strange for the game to not give you any of that and make the first level harder. I've never really seen that before. They make it harder in the beginning already. Like, that's very weird.
And there's there's these spots like high up ledges with a little orange light. I know there's going to be some kind of grapple or something I'm going to get. And maybe once I get that, then I'll be able to breeze through the first area. I'm not sure. I literally tried. I mean, I watched reviews and stuff, but I tried not to look up stuff like, when do you get this item, and anything like that. I watched some very basic beginner stuff just to get, which taught me about the health upgrades. So I'm looking forward to playing more. And it is an interesting spin, because it's very... way Collective reacted when I was telling you some stuff, it sounds like it's definitely not like Hades. I'm not sure how it compares to other roguelites, but we'll see.
Sound like it.
We'll see. And you don't have to fight the first boss, but you can. Again, I got got to the room, and I could have. Actually, that might be a strategy, because after you beat the boss, it opens up a room where you can like take off your parasites and stuff. So anyway, it's a pretty good game. I'm looking forward to playing more. And I was hoping to have Ghost of Tsushima finished, but that game, I guess, is like 45-hour game. I should have known it's open world, and I'm like 23 hours in, so that's gonna be a while for that one. But anyway, let's talk. Well, let's first talk about something, because last week we focused on E3, and
Switch Pro.
I've called out this studio after playing Spider-Man. I did like Spider-Man by the end. I mean, it's a decent game. I wouldn't put it up where a lot of people have it, but Ratchet and Clank's been out for a couple weeks now, and you get, the initial reviews were fairly positive. But I see some people on Twitter making comments. I still love the game, but it's got this, and this issue. And then Donkey actually had a normal review. I didn't know he actually did normal reviews. It's been so long since I've seen one of his. He usually just kind of makes fun of the game or tries to do crazy shit to like break the game and make funny videos out. But he did a legit review, and summed up what a lot of the reading between the lines I had to do while listening to reviews for Ratchet and Clank is that the gameplay, there's like no real variety to it, other than the weapons you gain throughout the game, but the combat is the exact same from the very first mission to the last mission. You don't gain anything new, any new abilities, and it sounds like it gets quite repetitive with the same like mini boss over and over. And I'm just like, that's just kind of par for the course what I said about Insomniac like 2 years ago. Like, I don't think they've ever made a game with like great gameplay. I haven't played a ton of their stuff, but from my experience so far, I'm pretty underwhelmed with them as a developer when it comes to the gameplay of games. Visually, they're right on, they're near the top. And I guess even the story of Ratchet and Clank seems to be pretty geared towards children, like not even funny jokes for adults to get. Like, it's just very childish. So I was just like, I don't know why. I've seen multiple times people say Insomniac's my favorite developer, by far my favorite developer. I've seen a couple people posting that in comments or on Twitter, and I'm just like, I don't know. You guys probably,
If Rob was here, he'd be upset with you.
Just specifically speak on Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank has become less and less interesting probably since like the first few games. I'm more interested in playing the original game than I am playing any of the new stuff. Just because it looks more interesting. Insomniac, I've never been in love with, but I like Spider-Man a lot just because Spider-Man kind of does what Batman does. It has inherent flaws in it, but it made me feel like I was playing Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like how
they got the
Batman
swinging,
Arkham
right? I will
Asylum.
say they got the swinging as good as I think they could get it. Like, I don't know what else you could do to make that, because that is the highlight of the game in my opinion, is the swinging through the city. Even by the end of the game, I still enjoyed the actual swinging. It's just like the mission structure was swing to a location, watch a cutscene, fight a boss, get a loading screen, swing to another location to do the next part of the mission. There wasn't a whole lot utilized with the swinging. Other some action set pieces where you're following a helicopter or something, and if you get too far away, you fail the mission, or they throw in a quick time event, which I didn't know. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Oh, I'm supposed to hold down on the analog stick to do something, and then hit X to shoot away, or whatever it was. But it just feels like they focus so much on these scripted like events,
cinematics,
like where you're playing, quote unquote playing. It's like the rail grinding in Ratchet and Clank. I was like, man, they should make a Sonic game without this rail grinding sections where you have jump to the right to avoid this, jump to the left and to avoid this, or jump to the right, hit a thing so you switch to
obstacle railing.
And it's like, even Robert Rule 2 was like, man, I didn't expect to not be playing so much in this game in the first couple hours. They've taken the player's control out of your hands for a significant chunk of the first part of the game. and I was like, man, that's when I knew I wasn't gonna buy the game. And it's just
I can't hate on Insomniac too much. I've always been, a bit mixed with their output, but I think, as a Sony studio, they have tried to mix it up as much as they probably allowed. We start off with Spyro, and even though Spyro wasn't, I'd rate the original Spyro, over the original Crash Bandicoot. I don't mind as much as I hate them. I don't mind Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3. 3 graphically is stunning on the PS1. But, Insomniac's like the Resistance series. They done Resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, the first Resistance was, just a graphical, hey, look what the PS3 can do. I thought the game was pretty weak. But Resistance 2 and 3, even though they weren't stellar first-person shooters, they still had some good sci-fi elements, some good weapons, and some good ideas in the game. They're very playable games. And then I think after that, then they unfortunately got stuck in the whole Ratchet and Clank thing, where you felt like
they
that's
made
all
a
they
lot
were
of
making.
games.
Yeah, that's where you felt like all they were making until Sunset Overdrive, maybe.
Yeah.
And then throwing in Spider-Man and maybe 1 or 2 games, which probably no one can remember off the top of their heads because I can't. But I just think just through the eras they just got caught in a trap, and I think if they were allowed to experiment, a bit more, then we might start seeing some of the ideas that we saw in Resistance, some of the ideas that we saw in the original Spyros and the Sunset Overdrives and stuff, because a lot of people loved Sunset Overdrive, and a lot of people say that played great. I haven't played it, but gameplay wise, it sounds great. So, and that's a brand new IP.
Yeah, I'd be curious though, because
Yeah, we'll never see again.
I don't know if it's if that's the studio feeling that's what they excel at, or because I mean, there's a lot. Even though Sony's first parties, there's jokes about how they're always the same third person, over the shoulder camera and stuff, but they do seem to give their developers the freedom to make the game they want. I mean that's just me from the outside looking in.
I would say Insomniac is probably the more versatile of.
I just feel like
that's what I mean. Though they have at least dabbled in quite a few areas where.
Yeah, I can respect the interest in putting your hand.
I'm just wondering if it's like whoever's running Insomniac prefers the flash over and the visuals over the core gameplay.
To be fair, Sony's kind of like that in general. Like that whole one camera shot. Yeah, it's like if it's a visual showcase, which unfortunately is what I kind of felt like Rift Apart was supposed to be anyway. It's just a visual showcase for the PS5. Not saying it's a bad game, but honestly, I think that's kind of the same direction you could argue Knack was going for. Look at all this shit that we can make work.
Right. Look at the particle effects.
And like it's
triangles.
It's a cool showcase for the system, but the game ends up being okay or mediocre. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with Ratchet and Clank.
And it worked because I saw guys who ragged on Nintendo's cartoony games. Oh man, I can't wait for Rift Apart. Like what? You don't play them type of game.
And I've seen
I actually like Insomniac and that kind of stuff. But like, as stupid as it sounds, that's why I go to PlayStation, to get those kind of half-scripted cinematic game experiences. Like, I know Uncharted is like that. I know Ratchet and Clank is like that. I don't know Spider-Man was like that. But like, I go there knowing that that's what it is. Maybe that's why.
That's what Sony sold himself as.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
I like it once in a while.
That's what you go there for.
Yeah, I like it once in a while. Like I have a point and click adventure background. That kind of cinematic stuff works for me a lot of times for certain games. I don't want in every goddamn game, but Sony does that the best out of everybody right now. So
and that's probably my least favorite part of like the Uncharted stuff is all the. I mean, does every game have you running towards the camera away from an armored vehicle with a like 50 cal machine gun on top?
Every game since
I don't think Lost
Crash
Legacy.
Bandicoot.
Maybe
Like
Lost
those are the guys
Legacy
who made
might.
Crash. I mean, what do you expect them to do?
And
Not
it's-
have a sequence like that in the game?
They don't have to. I mean, at
Of
this
course
point,
they do. That's their signature fucking move.
that's my least favorite part of the Uncharted franchise is those sections. I
It's
hate
like
those.
making that fake fear, like, oh, feel the fear of the character, but it's that fake fear because you're only afraid not because the rock is following you, but you can't see the fucking cliff that's coming and shit.
Right.
You know, it's just,
See,
I hate that.
the
shit.
first Last of Us has a armored vehicle that you can't get away from, but it's not a scripted. It's still like an open. The environment's still open for you to find your way around. There's areas where it just pops up letting you know, hey, this is still a threat. You're inside right now, but you know this threat's hasn't been dealt with.
But it's pushing you along still.
But it's
still
not
pushing you
like
along.
it's not a 5 minute or whatever 2 minute 5 minute. I'm running away from this, and basically what I'm doing is quick time events. It's still you're still playing the main gameplay loop. But
Well, if you can complain about that, then Retro can complain about all range mode in Star Fox, because that's a segment in the game that he don't like.
Yeah.
That's a segment in the game you don't like. So that's fair, right? That's fair.
I think what I kind of wanted to always evolve from like the Ratchet and Clank series, which is kind of why I dropped off here. I always felt like, it didn't matter, in a way, what weapon you had. The result was always the same.
yeah, that's what Donkey said in his review. Every weapon
Is
kills
it?
every
Alright.
enemy.
And whereas like I seem to have Jet Force Gemini as a template for third-person shooters. Anything beyond that needs to evolve in a certain way. Because even with Jet Force, it had like a ton of weapons, and it got to the point where you're like, okay, right, my pea shooter's not going to work anymore as much. I need the machine gun to take these things down. Oh wait, they got shields now. I need the homing missile to blow them up into tiny pieces. Oh wait, you got the drones now who are like these mutated fucking things, and nothing worse against those apart from the triple rocket launcher, and you have to blow their arms and legs off and stuff like that, and just all this stuff to force you to cycle through your weapons in different scenarios and keep you on your toes.
Well, Ratchet and
Especially
Clank,
when
they
all the
forced.
enemies are mixed up.
It causes frustration. People want to be easy, they don't
Well,
wanna
in Ratchet
have
and
to
Clank,
think
you
about
have
what
to.
weapon you should use. And I just want to be able to shoot and go.
You have to
I mean,
switch
don't
weapons.
get me
'cause-
wrong. I'm all for just blowing stuff up sometimes, but I mean, when you're in a series like Ratchet and Clank, and then the enemies themselves and that engaging, when they are just coming at you after so many games and so many entries and so much repetition, it will get stale.
Yeah,
And that happens with a lot of.
After one game for me.
Gears of War for me. That happened in Gears of War. I was just like, man, how many times are gonna have to duck behind this perfectly sized wall now? Just to fucking, and it just gets repetitive.
And that's funny because it happened with me with Gears 3. I didn't play whatever the spin-off one was. But in Ratchet and Clank, they force you to switch weapons constantly because you're constantly running out of ammo for the weapons you want to use.
Right. That's the.
And it's
Right.
like, instead of having ammo be the issue, have it be like Clactus said, oh, this enemy, I mean, how many, Metroid Prime did that well, where, oh, this enemy, has a weakness to the plasma beam or whatever, the ice beam, and that's, and it's like, and T hit it on the head, and I think that's what Insomniac's trying to do. What Nintendo successfully does is make it E for everyone, but that truly means for everyone. It doesn't mean it's definitely leaning towards being easy to play for a casual or for a kid or something. You can still, maybe, I don't know. It's the whole game difficulty issue, but there's got to be a way to make it playable, like in Mario Kart, where you add the antenna thing that puts them back on the track. Add it to the accessibility features or something. For younger,
Or don't and say fuck off.
or don't, and just make it a damn game with some depth. That's the thing about Astros Playroom. Now I think he's a great mascot, and the levels were fun and vibrant. The music was great, but there's no new ability. I mean, you randomly will pick up a new, like, kind of a unique weapon, like a bow and arrow or whatever. That's only for that one spot. Like, you can hold on to it, but it's not. It doesn't expect you to have that all the time. Oh, I have to shoot something with the bow. If you have to shoot something with the bow, it provides one for you in that one spot, letting you know that you're going to need to use the bow, shoot a plunge or whatever it shoots. It's like, just give me a triple jump. Give me some variety so I can play it. I can navigate this level the way that's fun for me and engaging, like,
Yeah. Well, or just be how about you just be okay with tricking fucking kids? They didn't have a problem tricking us when we were
Yeah.
kids. You know, they would make these cutesy looking shit, and you go to play it, and you couldn't get past the first fucking level because it was too goddamn hard, right? So, you know, trick the kids into buying it because it looked like something for them, but fuck you, you can't play this shit. It's for these
But
guys.
more than often than
you
not,
still get all the sales, right? They still get all their damn sales
Yeah.
from those type of games. So,
and
stop
it,
trying to appeal to everybody because you end up appealing to no one.
I just feel like the developers over there just don't have any interest in those kind of games. Like,
Yeah, I guess.
it's like you get maybe one, like when you think about the PS4 generation, how many games were there like that kind of hit that sweet spot? And I can't think of
any.
I can't think of any. I think because Juice, you mentioned earlier how you think that Sony gives them like the free reign to do what they kind of want to go for. I just think that they don't really give a shit about that genre. They just want to they want to tell a story. They want to give you an experience, and that's what they want to do.
Ghost of Tsushima's pretty tough until you figure it out. Like it's not that doesn't let you just. I was dying left and right on the normal difficulty until I started learning how to play it and upgrading my weapons and adding new movesets through. You get a level up system. Basically, you get like points to spend on a. It's kind of like a skill tree, but it's not. It's done in a more unique way than I've seen.
That game didn't need a skill tree.
You have like 4 stances. It doesn't really feel like a skill tree. You have like 4 stances that you earn, and each stance is effective against a different enemy type. And this is like, Clacked was saying with in Jet Force. Well, this guy's got a shield, and so I got to use the stone stance or whatever, and that helps break his shield and makes him open. Well, the guy with the spear, if you try to use that stone stance, you get wrecked. And so then you get, I forget what I just got the one for the spear. It has a different name, water stance or something. And now I'm doing more side spinny attacks, so I'm not getting speared constantly. And so your upgrades go towards, all right, I have the stance. Well, I want to add this. If I hold triangle, he'll charge up an attack, and I can get 3 quick attacks. So it's not really like a skill tree in the normal sense. Or you can add it where you throw these. They're not shurikens, but similar thing to that. Now I can throw 3, and if I upgrade again, I throw 4 at a time. Like that kind of stuff. So it's not. It's not really like your typical skill tree.
All that type of stuff isn't new in, especially in samurai games. If you think of like Bushido Blade or Kengo, or Way of the Samurai. I don't know if you played those games on PS1 and PS2. And even what I played recently, Neo, which was the first one. I haven't played the second one yet, but Neo, has that 3-tiered stance, high, mid, low, and you do have to adjust and your style against what enemies that you're fighting. Otherwise, you'll get your ass whooped if you're in a slow stance. You got this enemy, darting all over the place. You're not hitting shit. So
it's just a little bit. It's just depth to make it.
Yeah, I do like stuff like that in games because once again, that's the type of stuff that keeps you having to think on your toes. It's not just a hack and slash anymore. It's a thinking hack and slash in the situation. So it's not just like with Jet Force and stuff. It's not just a third person shooter anymore. It's a thinking. You can't shoot this enemy with your machine gun just like before because the bullets just clang off his shield. I need to get to his legs. His shield drops and I shoot his head and stuff like that. It's just mixing things up. Like even with GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, the stuff we always talk about. Terrell said just now. I think a lot of developers, aspire to want to create these types of games, but when it comes down to it, you do have to go that next level, because even in Halo games and and Gears of War games, you're not shooting the guns out of people's hands and they're dropping their weapons and then you're grabbing their weapons and picking them up and then killing them and stuff like that. That's that stuff is so rare. I don't even mean rare where I just mean rare as in you barely see it.
Yeah, and that's I think Ratchet and Clank just add a few layers of depth there, and
Also, Ratchet and Clank seems like a game you get too strong in too quickly.
But it's also it's funny that we're talking about it like kids, but it also is hard at the same. It's like overly difficult, but not because. For me, the 2016 reboot, the difficulty became all you can do is jump flip left, jump, flip right, or jump, flip back. Like that's your only dodging. And I just there's just too many bolts at times, and your three options to evade, you get hit. It's like, so I found it challenging, but not in a smart way. And a lot of times it's just because I ran out of bolts in what I thought was the best weapon. So I'm resorting to these lesser weapons, trying to get kills with it. And I don't know what the solution is for them, but I would love.
I would say if you're gonna give me all these guns or give me the ability to buy all these guns so early, then you give me more ammo, but you make harder enemies.
Make enemies that you find out, hey, this enemy's impervious to this item, so I can use that.
Yeah, give me, because the problem is that once you get like a good 5 or 6 weapons in most of the games I've seen, you just you can just blow through anything. It's just up to whether you have the bullets for the gun or not. Is what it boils down to. I'm like, well, why don't you create enemies that can respond to different weapons? Like, you can't shoot me directly because I have an armor plating on my chest or whatever.
Yeah,
you actually have to circle around
them. Like, use the rift to get behind somebody, so that's the only way to beat them instead.
Yeah, because the rift very much feels like a gimmick.
You use it, and then you have to turn all the way around, and by the time you turn around, they're attacking you. Like, it doesn't work the way.
That's why I love Portal. Portal's genius like that. Absolute genius.
Yeah,
like that.
And Immortals doesn't use it in combat, but they use like a portal system for a puzzle. And it's like, it blew my freaking mind. I was like, what do I got to do? You got to create you get an ability to create a stone version of yourself to like hold down switches instead of having to find a rock or something to set on a pressure switch. Well, in the DLC, it gives you ability to instantly switch places with your like stone version. So you could put it somewhere, go walk, and you hit the left stick down, and you instantly teleport to where it was, and it ends up where you are. And it worked. They used that for puzzle solving, and it was like, it freaking blew my mind. But I had to figure out I could pick it up, throw it through the portal. I'm like, how do I get anywhere? I had to throw that stone version of myself through the portal because it doesn't work. It only works with inanimate objects, and then teleport. And then I could easily get into that area and back out using that new ability and move blocks around and stuff and solve this puzzle. It was just like, it was ingenious. Now, if
somebody's been playing Zelda games,
if they use that for like a combat,
guys.
if they use that for a combat scenario or some other game, like Rift Apart, if they would have used that to truly benefit, and like I thought that Dash was gonna do, I was like, man, they're looking like they're getting closer to a more frantic shooting game where the dash might actually, and then everyone's like, the dash wasn't that useful, and I was like, I was really hoping that would add an element to really improve. And Lenny says gameplay hasn't evolved since early 2000s. You talking about Ratchet and Clank in general, or just gaming in general? Because Ratchet and Clank looks very similar. You look at the PS2 original, and it still plays very similar. Yeah, I don't think you could do the left and right jump flip.
I don't. Maybe not in the first.
That
game.
Doesn't.
You
really,
can do it in the remake.
In the remake, I know you can, but
yeah,
I don't
think the original had it. I think they added that like in the second or third game.
Don't forget about that SSD.
See,
yeah,
and that's why when I remember when that game was first revealed. As soon as I saw the Rift shit, I'm like, oh, that's the gimmick. The gimmick is literally
right.
Look how fast we can.
And then they botched that though. Rift. They botched that because a lot of like that cool looking shit is you can put your controller down. It's sliding down the roof.
That's what I was gonna.
On the dragon, like you do nothing. Yeah. You're literally doing nothing. They do one level. It's a very big open area where you hit these stones and you instantly switch back and forth, and that's how you navigate through that level. And it's like everyone's like, this is like a really good use for this, but it's only that one area. It's like they didn't.
I'm cool with that. They've been doing that. The gimmick shit. Look what we can do to bait people into buying shit that would never buy it before. Mm-hmm. That's just marketing. I don't have a problem with that. But when you start playing it, you just playing Ratchet and Clank again, son. Mm-hmm. That's basically it.
I remember saying to Juice in the beginning, was getting Superman. This might be completely different with the dodging and shit. I told you, Juice, it's gonna play exactly like the previous game. You can see it. It could be better and stuff.
Yeah.
You could see that this was going to be exact same. But I mean, like, again, if I would buy it, it's like I would buy it because I know that that's what it's going to be. But yeah, like,
Right.
there was, I don't know. You could see that there was just no difference.
Well, that
in
was my
that.
biggest
think-
complaint.
I
though,
think
was not being.
well, because I mean, if you and I hate to do it, but if we did the Nintendo comparison, which would be, I probably would say, if you compare something like Ratchet and Clank, or even the way Knack was handled, that Knack very much felt like PS4's version of Pikmin, in the sense of, look at all this shit we can throw on the screen. The difference was is that Nintendo's handling of Pikmin was a completely different kind of game. There are very few games that are like
That's a completely
Pikmin,
unique.
whereas Knack is literally just a beat 'em up with the whole, well, look how many pieces I can be, and I'm like, and it doesn't really add to much. And then you put out a sequel that no one bought. So, you know.
Yeah. I think we were all on. I mean, at least I was on the same line as with Ratchet, where I'm like, man, this game looks stunning. It might be worth just to buy it for graphics.
Mhm.
Because you do that sometimes. That's fine. Sometimes just visually a game could just blow you away. You think the game isn't going to be terrible, but visually it's going to wow me, and the gameplay will be enough to see me through. But I knew Ratchet would pretty much be the same. But at the same time, I did see stuff in the trailers stuff where I was just like, okay, now they are actually thinking a bit to the lines that I like, that I've always called for, where I saw them like shooting enemies, and
Man.
chunks of their armor was coming
Yeah.
off, and stuff like that.
Why
And
is
I
it,
like
man?
I like stuff like that where they do recognize where you're shooting the enemy. I just didn't know what else came after that. Then can you wound their arm?
Yeah,
or,
imagine
anything like that. But
imagine with those level visuals, those CGI and Pixar, almost early Pixar looking quality CG, having the characters be super animated, and you shoot their toe and they maybe they trip, or they grab their foot and jump up and down, stuff like that. Those little details that you would think with all they actually have a lot of little details just in the environment, like just cool stuff that's
GoldenEye did that shit already
but-
on the N64.
but I'm saying, let's add. You got these, they added the cartoon, the very popular animated technique of having characters stretch as they jump or land. You don't see it in real time, but if you pause Ratchet, he's
Are you
like
talking about
stretched.
stretch and squash? I
Yeah,
think
like
is
an
what it's called.
like an animation. So have these enemies, instead of just be basically paper targets you shoot at. Like they have. Maybe they make funny dialogue here or there or something, but have it be like, hey, I want to shoot him in the foot and see what happens as he's running towards me. Stuff you did in GoldenEye. Like, add little stuff like that could add, if you're not going to really expand the gameplay to, you don't want to get too out of the
I
realm.
think,
I wanna
a
point
lot
out,
of genres. Yeah, go on, T.
I was just gonna say I wanted to point out what Visor said. He's always Johnny on his spot with this shit. Because I was thinking about, this whole Ratchet and Clank thing with the using the hard drive, all that stuff. It sounds really familiar. I can't place it. And he was like, oh yeah, that's what they did with Blinks the Time Sweeper and shit. Like on the original Xbox, where you could, because you couldn't do it because of the hard drive. You couldn't do this without the hard drive. Be able to reverse time and all that stuff. You fast forward and all that stuff you can do in that game. I was like, oh yeah, they were really pushing that for that game too back in the day. I was like, oh, but at the end of the day, it was just
The irony is that I think Blinks had a more creative. At least Blinks had a creative concept behind it. I felt like.
Yeah. And I should have.
It's pretty original, especially at the time.
Yeah, when the idea that you can rewind, pause, and fast forward time. That's a cool concept just within itself.
Right.
Jumping through portals isn't necessarily the coolest thing in the world.
No.
So, I mean, visually it looks
the thing
interesting.
with me is that I didn't see. Okay, people would say I'm just was hating on the game, and I play more fucking Blinks. I play more fucking Ratchet and Clank games than any of these dudes. But so when I point this stuff out, it's from a place of knowledge. But anyway, they from what I was seeing, I was like, okay, so you can jump through these rifts or whatever, but doesn't seem like is it really doing anything with the gameplay? Like, is it really affecting it in any kind of meaningful way, or is it just, hey, this is what the hard drive can do? And I never got any gameplay. Like, oh my god, that really enhances the gameplay kind of moment.
I think in the hands of a better developer, more creative developer, it would have been more than just a cool showcase for a scripted event. That literally could have been a pre-rendered video. I mean, there's no reason to have it happen in real time, except for the one level where it's used in real time, where that's like the highlight for pretty much everybody's review. That's the highlight level in the game. where it's
Mhm.
actually utilized.
It's just a missed opportunity anyway. Because I thought, at least from what I understand, like the rifts, they're like on a specific location, and then you go to that location to pull the rift or whatever. But like just like this, if you want to do it, like as Clock had mentioned Portal again, like Portal and Portal 2 specifically, like I mean, you had the rift thing basically that worked seamlessly and shit, but like implement that aspect then in Ratchet and Clank and use it
It's
for like
just
stealth
better.
shit. I don't know, use it as that. But I mean, having like a random portal and you go through it in like an action sequence, like that, it's like T said, that's just smart marketing, but like that ain't
Well, how
gameplay.
about have a rift where you shoot through one and the bullet comes out another, and that's how you get to an enemy behind cover. And then you could make
Exactly.
it a funny moment where he's like looking around like, what the fuck? Maybe have Ratchet be the only one who can see it or something, and then there's like, what? That could have been a
Here's the
funny
thing.
and fun.
Like, yeah, because
gameplay.
you could save the big riffs for like the set pieces, but then have like a portal type gun
Yeah, exactly.
during the moment gameplay
Yeah.
where you could shoot it on the ground and then shoot a bomb through it and the bomb come up over on the other side and blow up in
I
their
mean,
face.
that
Like,
that already sounds more fun than anything I've seen
Well, here's the
in the reviews.
I don't want to get too bad on them because it's like, here's the thing. They might have wanted to do that.
Yeah.
You have that one level or that one instance where the rift shit is really cool, right? Maybe they wanted to do that. They just didn't have enough fucking time.
Yeah,
They
I
might have
was
been
actually going
under
to say that earlier because
yeah,
they
the
kind of got
short,
forced to push out some Miles
I think they got
Morales.
forced to push it out a little earlier
All-
than they
all I
probably
wanted to say, all I wanted to say was just in terms of this whole genre thing. You know, we know we've reached a point now where brand new genres are going to be even more rare. Than getting a good game from from Sony. But
I knew you couldn't help yourself. Damn.
but what you do within the genres that keeps them fresh. I mean, it's not like the first time we've played a 3D Mario game, but what keeps 3D Marios fresh are the ideas that Nintendo work with within that 3D platform space, and it's the same with Breath of the Wild. It's why we felt a bit of fatigue with the Zelda formula. The 3D Zelda formula before Breath of the Wild, because even though they got the motion gimmick stuff in there, the games still were essentially playing the same. The adventures were still grand, the characters were still great, and all this stuff. The music was still there, and the gameplay was still solid, of course. But you start feeling that fatigue if the ideas within what they're doing aren't as compelling as what they could be.
Think of 2D Mario. Even you said 3D, but even like 2D Mario.
2D Mario is a perfect example.
Look how different like each one of those fucking games are. Like we got Doki Doki Panic over here, but I would have been kind of like, well, this is kind of lame if we'd have got the original Super Mario 2. It's like, it's a little bit different, but it's the same game. Luckily, we got Doki Doki Panic, and then we got Super Mario 3, which was like, what the hell is this?
And then World felt like
Super Mario World was like, oh my god, like they got even super creative. Cynics will say, "Oh, it's the same stuff over and over again," but you ain't really playing those games if you think Mario, even the 2D ones, are similar to each one. There's really
just
inventive
look at
stuff going on.
in Mario Maker, the amount of people who couldn't beat my flying level because they don't. Yeah, it was the first iteration was before the checkpoints and stuff. I even had trouble beating it like after I uploaded it, but after that, you could just tell people didn't know how to use the cape. And then you go to if you're someone like me who World was my favorite and I played it the most, going back to Super Mario Bros. 3 and I'm expecting to be able to fly and you got limited with the raccoon tail, it's a completely different playing game. Mario Bros. 3 and Super Mario World play almost completely different. I mean, they have like Mario World has the spin jump where you can land on different spiky enemies and stuff if you hold it. I mean, you can there's a whole new especially on Mario Maker, the level's made entirely out of having to hold the spin jump down and make these jumps with varying distances, and you can control Mario in the air. Like that was one of the key elements of Mario, was actually being able to control Mario's momentum in the air, and that's something like that even games today don't get right.
I said the same thing when Metroid Prime 3 came out. And I've always stuck by it. I said Metroid Prime 3 you would have felt that fatigue in that game. Some people still did, but you would have felt that fatigue even more. And if it wasn't just the pointer controls that they focus around in that game, just pointing and looking around the shooting, the gameplay came behind those body controls as well. So now you were shooting enemies, but you would have to grab their shield, pull their shield off, then shoot them, grapple up here and all this stuff, and twist buttons and all this stuff, and just do all these things that you couldn't do in the previous game. So that's what kept it. Yeah, man, let's go. This is fucking cool. Whereas if you were still using the GameCube controller for that game, then I think you would have started feeling a bit more fatigue after that, with that third game in a row, stuff. So
Also, one motion thing.
Got the second game.
You don't like the motions in Prime 3, do you?
No, I was just gonna say that was the one motion thing I actually felt really satisfying, ripping those shields off. Even when you said that in my head, I felt that sensation of doing that. That was the one motion thing in Prime 3 that I absolutely fucking loved. That just felt really good.
It created new enemy types, but essentially wouldn't work the same if you didn't have that control setup. So that's what made Prime 3 feel great. They did go above and beyond in terms of thinking beyond just the controls. They're like, right, we need to build enemies around these controls. And that's why Prime 3
also
worked.
To that enemy variety that we've been talking about, where different enemies require different things to fight them and stuff. I do disagree with one thing though, like maybe that's just me, but like when you said Zelda fatigue, I was like, man, fuck this bitch. I ain't got no Zelda fatigue. I got Zelda fatigue when they fucking try to implement stupid gimmicks to change shit up that shouldn't be changed, That's what I'm saying. If something works, you shouldn't change it and stuff. Now, I do agree with 2D Mario platformers. Like, you can't just have you running from left to right, because, you need different shit. That's why, they added different power-ups, and then you add, different level varieties and that kind of shit. I definitely agree there. But once you have a formula that works, you shouldn't mess around with it too much.
No, the formula can work, but you still need to evolve. Otherwise,
the core
you become.
formula.
It's like
build on top of it.
It's like Gears of War's formula. Of course, it works.
Even on
The
Gears 5,
Uncharted
it's still the
formula,
same, other than the...
of course it works, but those games really, really did not evolve. What made Zelda still so engaging was because you had all the items, and all those items worked really fun ways within and outside of the dungeon and stuff. So you have these gameplay elements within these Zelda games, but I just mean the Zelda N64 structure of how the game played. And if you think about how the game played between Ocarina of Time, how it played Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and even fundamentally Skyward Sword, and Wind Waker and stuff, they were all still fundamentally playing virtually the same way.
You Z-target, you jump to the side, you back to flip, you hit forward, and you do your sword strike.
But what kept them engaging was that Zelda magic. The great dungeons, the great items, the great magic nature about these games and adventures. That's what kept you going. They were still fantastic games.
I feel like there was some... I feel like in development-wise, there was fatigue, because now they're... Like the spinning item from Twilight Princess... Where that whole dungeon, it works in that dungeon. The whole boss fight, you're going around, and then in the world, it's like, oh, this now lets you get up here to get a heart piece or something. I felt like that was one of the most one-time use, one of the biggest offenders of one-time use items. Where it just feels like, well, we got to come up with an item to make this, to put in this dungeon that you use in this dungeon. I feel like that's where they were getting
that was a damn good boss fight though.
It was. So I feel like they were getting locked into that formula. Like, well, you got to find an item in this dungeon and have unique things to use in this dungeon. But then they be coming to the point where they're, I don't know if they're running out of ideas, but it's like, well, I don't use this outside of that dungeon. So, is that really what I want?
A lot of people complained about the one-use items and stuff, which is why Breath of the Wild made that switch up, and even what they tried to do with Link Between Worlds, just to try and get you to go into different directions and use items, anytime, anywhere, or whatever it is.
Like, I don't mind as long as that one use is fucking awesome. If it's awesome, then I'm cool with it. Like, okay, I get it. That's the thing you gotta use.
I use that spinner actually to fight normal enemies because I like it so much.
I would do it too. I'd be fucking spinning around the whole world.
When they made that head spinner weapon, like a weapon for Hyrule Warriors, I fucking died. I was so goddamn happy. It just was
Do you know
so
what? I was
great.
trying to think of what game that they put it in, and
Mhm.
I was loving it. And I was
Use it.
thinking of for some reason I was thinking of Link's crossbow training, but I was like, no, was it in there? I can't remember. But it was Hyrule Warriors. Yeah.
Yeah, and like also from Twilight Princess, the ball and chain is like in a way you force yourself to use it outside of the world and shit. So you try to, even though it's completely like useless, it's counterproductive and shit. But you're man, I have this fucking ball and chain. I'm gonna use this shit. And like I have a friend, and like he has. I know you guys think I often have bad opinions and shit, but like he always says like, man, he literally doesn't want to play Breath of the Wild because he says like all of this tech shouldn't be in the game. And first of all, I'm like, bitch, all this tech has always been in Zelda, you know. Let's not even mention that stuff. But he's like, the thing that made Zelda free was getting all these items and shit. And like Breath of the Wild doesn't have these items, but it has magic. And I'm like, first of all, like magic has also been like from the Super Nintendo, you had all these spells. Okay, time uses all these spells and stuff. And it's like we're talking about, like is when we go to like fucking like Twilight Princess and shit, like items barely had use anymore. And before that, the item was always like the bow. Next dungeon was boomerang and shit. It was always the fucking same. That's why I liked it when Breath of the Wild was just fuck these items and that kind of shit, you know. And why A Link Between Worlds just opened all that shit up. Like that is definitely something that I didn't miss.
Yeah, I mean that might in his mind be like something solely missed, but if you don't play it, like you won't know if that's something you're gonna miss. I mean, you can think it's something you're gonna miss. But I just wanted to say too, I really wanted Ratchet and Clank to be like an amazing game, because I thought you guys know, I was hoping that dash would add something to the combat, make it a little more easy, not easier, but escaping bullet fire, getting the drop on enemies. I was really hoping that would add something, and then the rift thing, maybe add something too. I was disappointed it wasn't. I'm glad I didn't. I didn't buy it. It's one of the. It wasn't like the review scores made anything. I had to like watch and listen to the read in between the lines for a lot of what they weren't saying versus what they were saying, to know that a lot of people, the graphics are great. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, I love when games look amazing. But if the gameplay wasn't there, like it does pain me that one of probably their biggest game of this year, if Horizon gets pushed, is kind of a not, I don't know, mediocre is the right term, but an average, a good, not a great game, like I really, it bums me out as a PS5 owner to not have another, like a must play, like, day one purchase and be really happy with it. It seems like
you should have bought Xboxes.
Seems like the other issue is there is really no replay value either. It's like if you're achievement hunting, you can platinum it by doing the like 5 minutes in a new game plus and just buying the last 2 weapons or whatever, and then it's like then there's your platinum. But so
like
you
look like Mario Galaxy in just one generation. It's like you get Galaxy 1, you're just like, man, this is woo. So look at the ideas in this game, this is crazy. And then they announced that they could do Mario Galaxy 2. You're like, what else can they do? And then just the idea is exactly the same game virtually, in terms of the way you play it. But the ideas in there, just throw it into it, change it up so much for some levels. You just like, this is just incredible. So you can stick in these same genres. It's just all about those ideas.
Well, just think about Odyssey though. If Odyssey, I mean, how many videos did you see?
Odyssey 2 could still have so many ideas.
How many videos do you see of people who have mastered the dive, the long jump into the throw your hat, dive off the hat, and then you can throw it again, and you can like clear these huge gaps. Imagine if that new mechanic wasn't in there, where you could jump off your hat. They just remove where you could hop off your hat. That was like the most. Once you mastered that, like that was like my favorite way to traverse everywhere. Like
the weirdest thing is you don't have to do that for the main game.
No, you don't have to do it at all. There's moons.
But then the best thing as well is that Nintendo actually rewards you. You think there's some places that are completely out of reach, and you think Nintendo don't even. Nintendo.
They don't want me up here.
They don't want you up there, and then you go up there. There's like all coins and stuff. You're like, what the fuck? Holy shit!
What the fuck?
Well, there's
Could they
one
not
moon.
play
It's like, I knew you
Game.
would do it. Like, what?
Wait a minute. Cling, 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 cling. Oh, what the hell?
There's literally a moon
Like
on
Nintendo.
in New Donk where you're supposed to find the switch and make this bridge, these blocks go out where they last like 10 seconds, and you got to run out and get this moon. And I posted to Retro when he was trying to say it was a walking simulator. Oh, look at this walking simulator, and I just got a running start, timed my triple jump perfectly. Was a long jump, threw the hat, dove off it, bounced off it, threw it again, and just barely clipped that moon and got it a way they might not have, maybe they thought that would be possible, but it's like, if you remove, like I said, if you remove that jumping off the hat mechanic, that completely changes Odyssey in the negative for me. I mean, it'll still be a great game, but just seeing the creative things people came up with. The one dude beat the whole game without hitting the A button because he just used the hat to jump, and he perfected that technique. And it's like, that's the kind of extra little depth you can add to a game, and some guy can challenge himself and beat the game without hitting the A button jump. Like, that's the kind of stuff I'm kind of talking about with a Ratchet or any of these games that, what was the other one I said? Oh, Astros Playroom. Just add some extra depth so people can kind of play around and make their own challenges within the game, because there's so many different moves. Like, you got the side flip, you got the back flip in Mario, you got the crouch flip jump, you got the spin jump in some games where you get spin and then you jump, you get a little bit higher. It's just, somebody could play the whole game and never use any of that stuff, and then there's somebody like me or any of us where that's the joy of the game, is utilizing all the moveset and finding.
It's like imagine if you didn't turn into a squid in Splatoon. In Splatoon, when that come out, it'd still be a competent third-person, online shooter. But the fact that they not only turned you into a squid to hide under the floor, but it's the fact that they allowed you to traverse the entire, for the most part, environment as a gameplay mechanic.
And that's how you reload too. So it's like,
I
made a video about that.
Just that extra level of gameplay to elevate you and to keep you fresh.
Because then you can get a little bit of a long jump out of that, going into the squid and then jumping out of it, get you further than you would without it.
It all adds up, exactly.
And people can
That's
use
the whole
that.
thing. That's the whole thing that I feel that sets, and why I still feel Nintendo is set apart from the rest. When we're talking about Ratchet and Clank, it's like all these weapons do the same thing. So there's only one way basically to beat the game. And when you have like what you talked about with Odyssey with the moon, and even more so, for example, Breath of the Wild with the shrines, where like people are still finding out new ways to beat it. It's like there's not one way to do it. There's so much to the game that you can find 10 different fucking ways to catch that moon or to solve the puzzle. And when it comes to something like Ratchet, it's like you kill all these enemies and you walk straight, and like there's no variation with the weapon, so there's no other way to do it anyway.
Yeah, so I didn't expect that. I mean, we went off and talked about a lot of different games there.
But I mean, to be fair, we had a good general discussion there just about game
that's
design and
basically,
stuff.
yeah, that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Ratchet and Clank.
And that's, I mean, that honestly going back to Returnal, like I was telling you, like, it doesn't have a ton at this point. There's no double jump. I have a dash, I have a run, and I have a jump. I know there's other abilities, but just how quickly you can move, the smoothness of just moving around, changing directions on a dime, just how having precise controls like that can elevate a game. Technically, it's a third-person shooter, but it's a lot more exploration than shooting. But just having a really precise movement to your character, and not having these forced animations that slow you can't interrupt, like having it just, you're running left, you hit right, and you're instantly running right. It's like, it's not realistic to have a human being do that, but for the game, it works, and they're not putting like preset animations ahead of the gameplay and the movement of a character. And that just, it's so hard to describe. It just feels so good playing that game, and it's because a lot of games don't do that. Like, as much as I love Tomb Raider,
I still think it's still important to say that, I mean, you can't expect, every game to be, just gameplay idea revolution in
Yes.
in every single game. You it's all right to have just your general average same old games. I mean, I just come off Borderlands 3, and for the most part, I said after I'd done this, I'm like, right, if they do Borderlands 4, I do feel like something needs to change now because the formula has played itself now. It's this even with the comedy and stuff. I'm on game number 3 now. And I'm going to need something else now to really get me engaged in Borderlands again. Don't get me wrong, it wouldn't mean I wouldn't enjoy just playing Borderlands 4, just as a stupid shooter that it is. But once again, that familiarity and potentially that fatigue will set in because it is just more of the same. So after so long, some games do need to change. But it's all right if one game came out and it just played with your regular old way.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
I mean, not to be like my bitchy old self again, but Borderlands is the one thing where I almost disagree with. Because when you take into account Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2, they're like fundamentally completely different games with how they work and how they play and stuff. Maybe the universe is similar, but they don't play any. That's one of those games where I would suggest now play Borderlands 2. Don't bother starting at 1 because you will never want to try 2 because of how gimped it is and shit. And like Borderlands 2 is basically so that one game, if you don't even count 1. And then people had to wait like, what was it, fucking over a decade and shit, hoping there would be a sequel. So I wanted Borderlands 3 to be exactly the fucking same, because you wanted more of the same.
But do you want 4 to be the same too?
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
what he's saying.
That's what I was thinking because it's
Yeah, like probably I would, but I mean, like you ain't seen Borderlands 4 if it even would come for another like decade again at least, and by then you would be like, I just want to play that Borderlands again.
That spin-off sounds like it plays the
even
same.
me and you as Borderlands fans, and I have played at least the original Borderlands game.
I'm gonna go that route.
Even a gap between
Wow.
Borderlands 2 and 3. If I'm feeling a bit of fatigue, even though we had that massive gap between Borderlands 2 and 3, all I'm saying is, which is what I said, when I get to number 4, I feel like now I need something just that bit more. Because even with those gaps, there isn't that much different between Borderlands 2 and 3. You still want to use your shield weapons to break down their shields, but you don't need them, because pretty much all weapons in Borderlands 3 do a Ratchet and Clank and get to the end goal. But of course, it's slightly easier ways to get that health down. That's all I'm saying. If we get to the 4th one now, even with that gap, I'm like, I need something a bit.
I'm feeling that with Splatoon 3. I need to see that it's not it's not another single player mode where it's about 4 to 5 hours.
And we all said that, didn't we?
We have these individual and they did it with the Octo expansion. Now I'm taken to this area and I have floating platforms I have to get to. Now I jump to the next area. Now I'm at the final checkpoint. Like if you do that again, I'm sorry, I'm not buying Splatoon 3 if that's your single player again, because I think the formula is just stale for me.
I just think at least the difference with Splatoon is that fundamental core gameplay mechanic can lead to genius ideas.
Yeah.
And we felt it within the Auto expansion. We felt within Splatoon 2. Splatoon still had some staggering ideas, which is why we want to see those ideas expanded even more. That's why we're calling for these grand single player things to really work on those ideas and stuff. So that's why I'm still excited for Splatoon 3, because I'm just like, if they go there, I'd be like, let's fucking go. This is fucking incredible.
That's actually the perfect game that Juice mentioned. Splatoon is the one game where I actually felt that fatigue, where I played the first one to death and I was like, oh yeah, a sequel, give me that shit. And then you're realizing you're literally playing Splatoon 1 with different specials. There was nothing else different about it. And like, yeah, Robert can be like the Octo expansion, I haven't, it's this and that and stuff, but like, it's the same as the single player mode. It's the same, and it's the same as the single player mode from the first game. But Splatoon 3, actually, I agree. Like, because I bought 2, and I regretted it. I was like, man, I should have fucking picked up ARMS, but I was so hyped for more Splatoon shit, and like, I got more Splatoon.
Arm disrespect, Jesus.
With 3, I completely agree. It needs to be different. Now I have hope, because you saw in the trailer that, for example, you can now choose exactly where in the level you want your character to land. And if that's the main mechanic they use, you have to build around that. So I have hope they might do more with it. But It's fucking carbon copy. Splatoon 1 and 2 is carbon copy, and I agree, you can't do that.
And
You can get away with it once. You can get away with it once. That's usually what I'm at.
I would love
we all fell off
I would
pretty
love
quickly.
Arms 2. Arms 2 has the potential of really building upon itself and getting some great ideas in there, because it got all the environment stuff. We're picking up bombs, throwing the bombs and stuff, punching through walls. As we're hiding behind pillars and stuff like that. It has the potential to. I think just all Arms needed was just that bit
I
more
very much
variety in
yeah, I think
gameplay.
Arms was very much. Let me see if the concept clicks with people, and of course, you can't compare it with Splatoon, because Splatoon took off immediately. Arms didn't really have that effect. It still did well for what it was.
I think we'll see a sequel to Arms.
I think they're gonna wait. Also, they could be working on Mario Kart now. It's the same. God, almost got retro with that shit. It's the same team. I'm like, man, I really like Arms. I hate the fact that I felt like that game didn't really get the shine it deserved. But I get it. It kind of falls in the same line as Splatoon, because of how those games are. Like, for example, it being a fighter and Splatoon being a shooter, people can get tired of those games quicker.
Yeah, I think Arms 2 is more likely to.
The story mode.
Well, yeah, definitely.
To me, that's all that's really, really missing from that game. Is like, why are these people like this? What is the world they're in?
Mm-hmm.
That kind
Dude,
of
I got so mad how I invested.
Why are they fighting each other?
I hate the fact that I got so invested in the small amount of lore that's in the game to the degree that I'm like, where the fuck is my sequel?
Well, I think
Arms also didn't get promoted as much as they did with Splatoon, for example. I think they were waiting to see if it worked, and they were waiting too long. I mean, come on.
I don't know.
I wouldn't agree with that.
They should have worked with fucking Capcom.
They promoted it. The problem is Splatoon came out like a month later. That was the problem.
We had the Arms tournaments and stuff like that.
I don't agree with them not promoting it.
I mean, yeah, within Nintendo, but I mean, outside of that, I feel they could have done more. Like, for example, I've wanted it, and if it is an Arms 2, I wanted in there, you could have had something with Capcom, and I had fucking Dhalsim as a playable character now, for example, use that Street Fighter audience. Come on, Dhalsim is made for that shit, so you can have a cross promotion with Capcom.
I don't know. I've always been of the thought process, you don't do that with a new IP. You let the IP prove itself first, or because then otherwise it's not really exciting. It's just you use Capcom to market your game, essentially, which is what it would feel like. Here's Capcom throwing you a bone.
Are you saying a DLC thing, or you mean right off the bat?
You mean right off the bat?
I always thought as DLC. That's how I always saw it.
Okay, yeah, well, that's fine. I think that's
fine.
DLC.
I mean,
that'd be fine.
If Arms became, a 10, 15 million seller, then I can imagine some great crossovers with that game. Like a Smash Bros.
It wasn't
level
going to do that on its own the way it was left out there by Nintendo. They didn't really do a whole lot to it after.
And that's the other thing.
After the first year, they would.
Well, the weird thing, they did things to it, and I would say the game improved from it. The problem was that it's just that by the time it wasn't enough. I guess is what I should.
Well, that's the other thing.
Random for one, it was just like, here's something.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Splatoon. And Nintendo and getting stagnant or feeling fatigue. Well, the formula of releasing the game bare bones and then giving you, and we know the shit's on the cartridge, and just releasing the stuff slowly. Yeah, that was a cool idea for a new IP, and it made it exciting. I look forward to the big August update, because that game launched, it wasn't done. But doing that for Splatoon 2 just because they kind of had to do it, I don't mind, rolling out certain this random this different version of this weapon. It's similar, but it has it's different. We'll release that later. They tried that with Arms with the fighters. I think they thought that repeating that formula might have the same success. And I'm done with honestly. They didn't do it for Mario Maker 2, thank God. I think I could live without them ever doing that again, honestly.
And the sad part is that the character reveals the stuff for Arms and the characters themselves. When Lollipop got revealed, I was like, look at the goddamn character designs in this game, man.
Oh yeah, I love the character designs.
It's just fucking amazing. It's so good. You know,
They're
so
all
it
Arms,
wasn't.
go ahead.
I was gonna say it wasn't lack of excitement, but I could understand with a new IP that you're trying to get in there. Perhaps it would have been better to perhaps have a few more bells and whistles. But case in point, it doesn't always work. Splatoon 1 blew to the ground. Everyone loved it, and Splatoon and that had hardly any content when it first launched. Splatoon 2 had a ton more content when it first launched. Ton more.
Yeah, like sound mode, you just couldn't fucking play it.
Right. I mean, we fell off that game
Yeah.
relatively quickly because
Yeah,
of shit
I
like
mean
that.
that's the sad thing about salmon mode. It was a great horde mode. It was a really good
Yeah.
horde mode. But it's just wrapped behind a silly idea, a silly Nintendo idea.
And forcing you can't even pick the weapon. Like if you have a team of 4 people, hey, who's good with the roller? I am. Let that person
Well,
use
that
the
didn't
roller.
really.
Right.
That
Exactly.
drove me nuts because
The weapon thing didn't bother me. It was the fact that you could only play it at certain times. That was what bothered me.
Or
but
then you can only play it at certain times, and then you have to play it with a fucking sniper. It's a horde mode. It's this big of an area. Why you fucking giving me a
Why are
sniper
you giving me
for?
a sniper rifle, yo? Like this.
and I mean
You
that
can't
put you
fucking
at an
machine
immediate
gun that shit.
disadvantage.
The irony is that a sniper can be useful. I like
Yeah,
the
but why
idea of
force
forcing me-
somebody? I don't know. I never.
I like the idea, or at least where like someone has to be a sniper, right? Like I like that idea. I just didn't like the fact how restrictive. If I wanted to play it, we had to schedule our dates around that shit. That's what I couldn't stand. I don't really mind. I mean, I'm cool with choice, but it was kind of the same thing with Breath of the Wild. I don't mind that shit if it makes me pretty much experience something that I wasn't going to experience normally. The problem is that gamers get into habits, and we kind of just hang in their little habits. So at least for a shooter, I would never play with a sniper.
Yeah, but forcing somebody to use a bucket when it's not really enough.
I hate the bucket.
Or
I
the
ain't using that
sniper
shit.
is not a
I'm
very
throwing
effective
fish
tool
back.
in that mode. So
I love the bucket. It's one of my
I
favorite.
like the bucket.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that. You love the bucket. I hate that bitch.
Mhm.
You can have the bucket, but
Exactly.
I don't have the choice.
And you can put
Give you my
together a
bucket.
great
I
team.
gotta use a goddamn bucket. I don't want
That's
that shit.
definitely another thing they got to change. But Mr. Game and Chat asked a good question when I was talking about we were talking about adding like depth and new moves and stuff. He asked it about Sonic to me. What I'm gonna have you guys, Terrell specifically, and then the rest of you chime in. What do you think Sega could do for Sonic like Nintendo did for Mario in Mario Odyssey, like mechanic wise? What's something they could do for Sonic to add that little extra layer of depth for somebody?
I always
play it like
I'll jump in straight away because I've always
I'm thinking
wanted this in
3D
that-
more than 2D probably.
Oh no, yeah, I'm thinking 3D definitely.
I think Sonic had as soon as they introduced the spin dash in Sonic 2, right? I think that was one of the best things that they ever done for the character. But what came after it didn't result in what I wanted, and I think it's not that Sonic needed to evolve that much further. Gameplay wise as a character, he didn't need that many more moves or anything, even though I did like the home and attack, which can stuff. I wanted the environment to work around Sonic's thing. So with the spin dash, I wanted to be able to jump onto like plates and pads and stuff, rotate environments around me so I could spin into certain directions and all this stuff, get puzzles evolving with Sonic himself within the levels to make me feel like my character moves are really beneficial to the level design itself, because the spin dash, as great as it is, just makes you go fast. The home and attack, as great as it is, just makes killing enemies easier. I just want, and yeah, you can go into the whole rhythm stuff. Yeah, you're getting Sonic bouncing here, there, and everywhere. But then as we've played these games, that's what makes Sonic just feel like you're not doing much. And you're flying, and then you hit the speed pad and then carry on running forwards. But I always just wanted Sonic to be able to do more to affect the levels. That's what I always wanted.
So I'll say this. I think Lost World, as far as Sonic's moveset was concerned, was a good evolution of his moveset. The problem Sonic Lost World had is that the level design, I like that game, but I recognize that you needed better levels to really show off those mechanics. To give an example, they gave Sonic a kicking move. They gave Sonic the ability to charge his homing attack. to do more damage with it. Those are like in the kicking move where it'd be like enemies whose like outer shells were too hard, and you could kick the shell off, and then you could homing attack them to kill them. Those are cool things. The problem is when you funnel me down this one fucking line, I can't do nothing with that. You like I'm just going straight
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just going straight. I'm like, you gave me these all. That was the one thing I remember just thinking about Lost World. I was like, you gave me so many fucking options, and I'm still going in a straight goddamn line. Like, that's why, to me, opening up the world, that's when you do it. If you're gonna give me all these fucking moves, let me have the ability to go around in a large area. I think that's really what Sonic's issue is now. Fucking just better fucking level design. I think his moveset's cool. Just give me a cooler world to use shit in.
And a lot of people. I know you're not like a super fan of Sonic 1 and stuff, but it's like one of the first videos I ever done was saying, Sonic was like never that fast. Gameplay wise was primarily based off Sonic 1, where a lot of Sonic 1 was platforming, was pushing switches, was pushing blocks and stuff. You still had your speed sections, but it felt like a platform game, And Sonic 2, even though you had more speed sections in there, it kept quite a chunk of that. So that's why I love those two games, because they were a great mix of good platform games and good speed sections. Whereas all later Sonics eventually felt more focused on, let's just go forwards with a few attacks in between, and a few switches that just make you just keep going. Do you know what I mean? It didn't really evolve the levels based around his skill set anymore.
Well, I had an idea watching the Sonic movie, the recent one, the live action. There's a couple moments where he's moving so fast, does the Quicksilver thing, where everyone else is standing still, basically, because he's so fast. Which, that's become I'm fatigued on that in itself, because of they've done it in 2 X-Men movies. I don't know if they did in Dark Phoenix, I never watched it. But then Sonic did the same thing. But I'm like, what about, and this would be almost kind of a visual change, like something to change it up, where Sonic's moving really fast. In the games, they just do that by having everything flash by you. But what if they did it where they make you still move at a similar speed, like, Returnal, I would use as an example. That's a really fast. Doom, another game.
Like a bullet time.
You're moving really fast. Those characters move forward really fast. Even on Switch, I was surprised at how quickly you could move forward on Doom. So maybe that be the max movement speed, but have everything else, instead of the world just flashing by you, have the world be stopped. Not for the whole game, but you could engage this where he's moving so fast that everything else is moving moving slow. And I had in my mind, this is probably like over a year ago now, like I actually had an idea of something cool you could do with that. I can't think of it right now, but
so you mean like Quantum Break?
Kind of, but done because he moves that fast, but have maybe it play more like a F-Zero game, where you still have to avoid stuff. You can't just run and blow through stuff. Like, you actually have to use skill to avoid these things that are like basically stopped, but you're moving fast. Just something different, like to utilize his speed. Fair, because just going fast and having everything auto.
The one idea I had
seem to work
in that same video I'd done, and this was to compensate for Sega's janky game design when it comes to Sonic's games, because he does move so fast. It was based off Pac-Man Championship Edition of all games. And in Pac-Man Championship Edition, if you got too close to a ghost, time would slow down momentarily for you to turn in the other direction, and stuff like that. I always said Sonic kind of would really benefit from something like that. And if you take the time mechanic that bit further, where you do feel like you could slow down and then just move around the enemies, still faster than them, but still cool enough to control for that momentary move. Then that could be something that could work gameplay wise for sure. Yeah, I'd be down for that.
That beautiful Joe shit.
Yeah, actually, he does remember me. It's I guess my thing is that stuff has always been more interesting in combat specifically. And then at least in the latter games, the last couple games, combat really doesn't matter that much, because the last time they tried to do combat, he turned into a fucking werewolf, and we just didn't talk about it for anymore. And that was a God of War clone of all things. That was the irony of that situation. So I like the idea that like if you're doing, because to me, I know Juice doesn't give a fuck about generations and stuff. But one of the coolest thing about those kind of games for me was the fact that if you were good enough, you could stay on the high path and avoid all the bullshit that was on the lower path. Like it still took skill to maintain a good top speed and to be on a path that had the least amount of bullshit on it. But when you do that so many times, you run into fatigue. So I feel like the open world would be the next best thing. Considering the last open world Sonic game, I want to say the closest we got was that Zelda DLC in Lost World. That's the closest.
That was pretty fun. That was fun.
And most people argue that was like, if the game was that, we would have been fine. And that's where I'm at with it.
Just give me. It's like a 3D environment, like what I was trying to. You know, they won't make it go. The only way to get that sense of speed is to have these sections where there's whether it's like a half pipe or whatever, and you can run. And I think I was typing the title of the podcast. You know, I'm in the middle. I can go to the left, or I can go to the far right of 3. You have 3 lanes basically to avoid stuff, and that's their way of you're moving so fast. How do you make it move fast and you still do something? That, and then they added the on rails and they had the auto targeting. But if you didn't do that stuff right, you just come to a dead stop. I mean, how many? And you could say, well, you're just a noob. You get better at the game, but there's still a lot of times where you just come to a dead stop because even in the original Sonic, you're running and all of a sudden you didn't make the jump right. You're stopped. So that when you get better, but like you said, once you get to the point where you've mastered that, then it's like, where does the replay value on? Because there's, even though it takes some skill in memory to get to those sections, but you're utilizing these move sets and making up your own ways to get around, like a full 3D environment could do, where you give them a bunch of moves.
I just don't think Sega. I don't think Sega are capable, either. And unfortunately, with the very genre and game that they're playing with, because like even like with Sonic 2, when Sonic 2 came out, you saw Tails on it. I used to love the fucking artwork on Sonic 2, man, on the box. All the promotional stuff when I was first coming out just blew my mind. I was like, yo, it's Tails, the Fox is cool. He could fly, he could do all this shit. He go in a game and he's fucking useless. And then you just like, man, you got this co-op idea. You got this co-op, you got this co-op idea here where you got this character who can actually lift you up to different places, or stop you from falling, or perhaps engage with you in double attacks in all these different ways. And you think, okay, let's try to roll with this. But then Sega go even a bit crazier. Like with something like Sonic Heroes, where instead of like having this great co-op, experience, they have to give you 3 characters who stand in a row. Moving forward, doing stupid shit, and then something just never. They have the ideas there, but they could just never seem to place them in a coherent and engaging.
I very much believe Sega, especially towards its latter years, started listening too much to what people were saying, and I feel like Sonic ended up gaining an identity crisis because of it. Because a lot of people, the reality is Sonic has changed gameplay styles probably more than any other modern or any other like long-standing franchise. Good God, every fucking game, it's like, the fuck are we gonna get? Even the announcement of the new game, I have no idea what the fuck this is gonna be. But it's not like Mario where it's like there's a level of excitement to it. It's paranoia because it happens all the fucking time. I'm like, God damn it, don't do it again.
It's not even like he controls the same in
no, he
similar
doesn't.
games.
No, dude, it trips me out that Forces and Generations use the same gameplay style, but he controls like ass in Forces. It's like what the fuck? I'm like, how dare you put this shit out? And what made me mad, this is a quick thing. Forces had the nerve to be like from the developers of Sonic Generation. I'm like, no, you're not. And then I looked it up and found out, it's only like 2 people. Like, you fucking assholes. It was. That's not even a joke.
Right.
So
it was 2 people, and I'm like, I hate y'all.
Who here played Mirror's Edge? I just watched gameplay. I never actually played it.
Yeah, I played Mirror's Edge.
I haven't played it. I've seen gameplay.
Was there from what it looks like, is you can find your own kind of paths. I mean, you wall run and stuff, and you can it's kind of like a playground. Like, just have
it's not as open as people
no,
might
but
think.
I mean, they could.
But it still gives you options.
They could
Doesn't
give
it
you
do that
some
thing
options.
where like everything red you can kind of like interact with, but like
Yeah.
But I'm thinking for like a
Yeah.
Sonic
Well, all
game,
kinds of colors.
like an open a 3D world or a 3D Sonic game where there's not rail sections, you could do something like that where you have to get to a point, but you know you could have 3 actual branching paths with like, oh, you've mastered this wall jump or this wall running jump technique, and that's a more difficult technique. You go that way, or you know, or you can go like a more.
I know what you're asking for.
And it's like, yeah, just
once again, they have played in those areas with Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, stuff like that. In some of the levels, you know, whether you're playing as Knuckles, you're flying around trying to fucking grab onto these walls with the jank that it fucking is and stuff. You know, it's like, how do I get up there?
if they
Maybe try and go over here, and the character fucking dies.
assuming they had the skills, you know,
Right.
well,
that should be instead of just. And it does. I don't know what you feel about this, Troll. I don't need to see the screen blurring by to feel like I'm moving
Well,
fast.
I mean,
I brought up
that's only-
Doom. I brought up Returnal. Those move really quickly with great precise controls, and you can just fly through. You know, if you really want to, you can get around really quickly. To me, as a non-Sonic fan, that's as fast. That's fast enough to feel like I'm genuinely fast. Like if you don't stop and stop your momentum, you can move really fast. It's like,
Sorry, Terrell, before you jump in here, let me just say
Right.
I actually saw a first-person video of a Sonic game. Like I saw it on Twitter.
oh
I
yeah,
can't
with
remember
the
oh, it made me
spinning.
sick. It
And they're
made me
spinning.
sick.
Man, I felt gross. I felt absolutely gross.
And
So
ironically enough, they took the Generations level and then
Oh,
just
was it?
changed the camera perspective,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like,
You
no,
don't need the
you can't
camera
do this.
spinning around when you jump.
Oh,
Because
God.
remember, he curls up in a ball, so it's
Yeah.
like, woo.
You don't need that.
So-
You don't need to
so-
have.
I think when it comes to
So-
Sonic,
so-
I think they're thinking way too hard to try and think of what people want, like Terrell said, and they need to just focus on doing something completely different. Like the Odyssey mechanic of, like, let's say the desert world, for example. That would make a perfect fucking Sonic level. If you make Sonic controlled the way, for example, Mario controlled in Sunshine, when you use a rocket boost and he runs really fast, you know, but you still have perfect control. You can still make really tiny circles and shit, you know. So when Sonic goes fast, he doesn't need to go in a fucking straight line. If you give Sonic that speed, like you said, without the blurring, and you can just run around in a level, and you see in the background this massive looping, and you use that speed, and then you just swerve into the looping and do shit, you know, that's all you need. And then you add some railings that go through the level and shit. Like, this is going to sound stupid because I'm not a game dev, but it's easy making a good open worldish Sonic game where you feel like you're going fast without the need, like what I hated in the original Sonic games, what you said as well, where like you just go really fast and then boom, you hit spikes and you're stopping. But like if you have that perfect control in the 3D environment, you can just avoid everything and you can have that speed.
Yeah, imagine that you kind of painted the picture, but I'm gonna add to it. So you start. Let's say it's a bigger open area. Way off to the left, you see this like big arching. You know, at an angle, like what do they call that in like NASCAR? The corners are tilted so the cars don't fly off. You know, so you see way in the distance up high, you see this big curve, and you know you're gonna be once you get there. If you have speed, you're gonna be able to run across that, and then like he said, a loop-de-loop way in the background or way up high. You know you're gonna be able to get to that if you just, and that's what's gonna be. You know, you have something else to do. Obviously, you have objectives or not like something like moons. You know, stuff to find.
Yeah.
But you know.
I honestly, but this is what I mean. No, I honestly don't believe Sega are capable of making such
Well,
and
That's
Okay.
the thing.
engaging and intricate open worlds.
now
Not open world, but go on, sorry.
I want to throw out my
Like a
2 cents, but I
playground
also want to
plan.
ask. I want to ask a question about how y'all would feel about this. So, as far as my 2 cents is concerned, the games that pretty much do that thing that Juice doesn't like, the whole whizzing by and everything's a blur. That started ironically enough with Colors on the Wii. It's Colors, Generations, and Forces. I think are the 3 games that do it. Yeah, those are the 3 games that do it. And I know of those 3 games, 2 of them are
You're
pretty much.
forgetting Sonic and the Secret Rings. Terrell.
That's not a boost game. I know what you're talking about. And besides, that was the one people hated.
Isn't that like an on rails, like forced?
Yep.
You can't stop.
Yep. and no one talks about those
But
games.
that's because that was their first Wii game, and I think
Sonic
that's
and
what
the
they
Black
thought
Knight.
they could
No,
do.
that was their second Wii game because they
Second
did. No, you're right. Secret Rings was first.
Yeah, that
then
was the
Black
first
Knight.
reveal because it's like
And then Black
Oh, yeah,
Knight was
but-
the second one,
I
and
think-
then we got fucking Unleashed, and then we got Colors.
I think that's what they
but-
thought the hardware would allow them
So-
to do in that one.
Those games, I'll tell you this: I don't really care about having that gameplay style anymore. I enjoy it. I have fun with it. But like I said, my favorite control of Sonic in recent years has been Lost World. And so I'm going to ask this question. Sonic Lost World added something that no other Sonic game has. It gave a run button to Sonic. Do you think Sonic needs a run button
that
where he has a
You cut. It's funny. It was literally on my mind, in terms of because what Juice was talking about is when you're able to run around. We're talking because even Sonic Adventure when you were just like in Windy Valley or anywhere like that, you run fast as shit. But in like Sonic Jam in the open 3D
that
levels,
collection.
yeah, in the collection stuff, you only had one speed in there. The speed was a bit slow, but it wasn't too slow, and it worked for the environment that I was in. And then if you just pull the trigger down, even though this wasn't in the game, but going where you're going with this, if you just pull the trigger down so you got an extra run speed, just to know that option's there to speed up that bit more and get that Sonic speed, I think it would work. I think that's exactly what they need to do. Exactly what they need to do.
Okay, because I think that was the biggest contention for a lot of people was like, does Sonic need a run button, or does his default speed just needs to be slow?
Yeah, but make it feel good as well. I mean, Sonic was always about his shoes. When you click that button, his shoes glow fucking red or something. You're just like, he's that fucking bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, because he does the figure eight.
Yeah,
with
and
his
then you get
legs.
like a motion blur of like a red blur and stuff because you know you're gonna just be fucking sexy.
And have the
man. Just-
option to do some precision jumping where needed, and that's what Sonic Lost World did. All right, let go of the run button. I'm gonna hop up here, and I don't need to be moving forward super fast. And have some
use
slower
that trigger
stuff.
speed then to do like an
Sonic's
extra
so
long
free.
jump.
Yeah.
you're running
That's
at
why
the
I
speed.
mentioned
Oh,
Mario
God.
Sunshine. That's why I mentioned Mario Sunshine and the rocket boost. Like Mario walks normally, and then when you click, the rocket boost is activated, and you go really fast. Like that's what I meant. Like that's what Sonic should have in an open level. That you can just walk around and explore, and then you hit the button to go like actual, mega boost
And
Sonic
Mario.
shit and stuff.
Mario's always had it. Mario's always had a standard run, and then you want to go faster, you hold that fucking button. It's not.
I mean,
not
Odyssey
uncommon.
even had that thing that Juice said. Like, there's a level on Odyssey where you have in the Ice Kingdom, and you have the racetrack. That racetrack where you go really fast has those curves that you meant, where you can go
bank
into you
turns.
don't
That's what
fall
I
off.
meant to say. Bank.
It's funny because Galaxy
Yeah,
was the one that
bank.
kind of gave me the idea of maybe Sonic should kind of go with this, where because if you have play Galaxy, it's broken up into these different platforming areas, these different sections, and you burst through the sky and you fly to the next shit. So I'm like, why doesn't Sonic do something similar to where they have this little exploratory area, and then to get to the next area, you get to do your spin, speed, and fast shit, to get to that next area. So that would be in Mario Odyssey, or not Odyssey, in Galaxy, where you just in the flying
star,
thing,
yeah.
you fly.
So section off, pretty
You
much
have the section
off.
where you can do all the speed stuff to get to the next kind of exploratory area like that.
I mean, we just named a bunch of, I think, are really good ideas. Because, like, connect the more, search around, jump, you can move slower here. And then to get to the next area, you have a fast section. But don't have it be the 3 lanes. You have middle, left, and right. Like, have it be open and have stuff to do. And you're moving.
As long as they kept within those slow sections the options for momentum based gameplay, which is what I do like from Sonic. And stuff.
And that died.
Yeah.
Until
I think that's-
Mania, that
They're
died.
worried. I think that's their biggest worry. Is that
I'll tell you what's
they're
funny
worried
is that-
about
Yeah, go
because giving us the more adventure stuff, like we'd all love that. They're worried about long term fans being like, oh, I want more speedy shit. And I
Yeah,
think
the
they-
irony is with Sonic, they need to do the opposite of what Nintendo does. Actually, they need to copy Nintendo in the sense that Nintendo doesn't listen to their fans half the time. Nintendo just does what they think is an
That's what
idea.
they
I tell you
want
right
to.
now. I tell you right now, Nintendo has made a better 3D momentum-based Sonic game than Sega has ever made. And you know what game is from? Or what games?
What is it?
Metroid Prime. You turn into that morph ball. You start up your boost. you're going down half pipes and stuff like that for momentum-based puzzles and gameplay and all that stuff. It works so fucking well in a physics-based world. It's glorious.
All right, I'm gonna
Absolutely
share my
glorious.
screen. I
And
have not.
I'd like you to
almost that
name
in the
one
game.
Sonic game. I'd like you to name one Sonic game where the rolling and the physics feels better than that. You can't.
What
Doesn't
All right,
exist.
so I haven't watched this yet. This is 3 cool Sonic
Oh,
games
the fan
made in
project.
dreams. These are made in dreams. It said 3 cool Sonic games made in dreams. So
Oh, yeah.
Okay, do I have to click watch stream or?
yeah.
Yeah, you have to click watch.
So I haven't
Yeah,
watched
get that in the
this.
dreams.
I'm just curious because I seen one earlier, like when the dreams first launched. I mean, it's looking a little stiff, but this is dreams. You know, they don't have as
Right.
much.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you can do it this much is kind
But
of.
this already looks like.
The movement speed is
This
good.
already looks more like what I'm thinking for a 3D Sonic game.
Yeah, like I said, open world is what they really need to go back to. I
Yeah.
think realistically, they had an idea. I feel like to me, that's why I always champion Lost World so much. I think Lost World
There
was
you
the
go.
closest.
Look at this.
And he's using a boost there. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
essentially
if,
it's the generations.
you would
boost.
think
It's
the
just
Sonic team could
And wait,
beat.
does he collect rings to get
Yeah.
his boost?
Yeah, that's how
I
it
don't
is
know.
in Generations.
Generations is like that, yeah.
Yeah, you collect
Like,
rings and it builds
If
up your boost.
somebody
ability.
in Dreams can make this, you would think the Sonic team with a decent budget. I'm wondering if you got to run across the water with like that super speed.
Created by
Uh,
Yuki.
I think it's not the problem with the
You
budget.
can
or
do
the
it.
Like
company.
that's.
I think it's
Look at
just
that,
the
that's
devs.
freaking
They
cool.
need to have like new devs or some shit.
I need to
like
pick
maybe
up
just stick
Dreams.
with the
No,
old
I-
ones or.
But Sonic can't handle water anymore.
Well, no, they did this in a couple of the like in Hell in Colors and Unleashed does it.
And look, there's your Mario
That's
Sunshine
so
boost.
good.
there.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good.
I
They
need to
do
pick
it.
up
The
Dreams.
problem is that it's
That looks pretty
Well,
good.
Let's see what. There's underwater. Doesn't look.
I
as-
wouldn't have.
Better
Underwater
start
and
playing
Sonic are
it
not-
before they sue him for his house.
I see what they're going for here. Those are the quick dash sessions.
Yeah.
That's the crouch. See, all these are in Unleashed in Generations.
Yeah, but
I just
they
don't-
also throw in all the other, like I said, the 3-lane running, the rail grinding stuff, and it's like it
And look,
doesn't
Mom,
have
no
much of
timer.
this. It doesn't have much of this. From,
But it just goes back to what I was saying though. They've done the ideas. They just seem incapable of mastering anything, and the
Give
jank,
this guy a
the jank,
budget.
the jank just remains.
I don't like this. This is typical 3D Sonic stuff for me, where
Yeah, right here. Yeah, this is.
where you can go left or right.
You need that. You're gonna need that.
You gotta have some aspects of it.
This
I
could
mean,
be that section, for example, that T set that connects
crap.
the areas that we're talking about. You know, boom.
why does
Perfect Sonic
dreams,
game.
dreams let you do a lot? Jesus
Look
Christ!
how
Oh,
quick.
yeah.
Look how seamless
You can
that
do whatever
switch
you
to
want in
2D.
dreams.
Look how seamless that switch to
Looks better
2D.
than Sonic 06.
And
That's not
Well, we don't
bad. That's
we
not
don't talk about
difficult.
06, all right?
We don't talk about a lot of Sonic games. That's one of them.
kind of
06. Oh yeah, 06 is the one. I absolutely am like, nah.
this is kind of unrelated, but also directly related. The Nintendo put out that Garage Builder, and I seen one, like that the day it came out or a couple days before it came out. I seen one really cool, like holy shit, you can do that. And I've seen literally nothing since, and heard not one person talk about it, tweet about it. It's like I really thought they were going to push that game at E3, and they didn't. And I'm wondering if is it
There's not a
limited?
lot to it.
Is it more limited?
Oh, it's
Or is
very
it just so
limited.
complicated, or is
I
it
don't
take
know.
so long to
It
make a
seems pretty
game?
limited.
Because I swear somebody made, Robert shared it, I thought, where it was like, holy shit,
Yeah, I
you
thought
can
there
make
was.
that?
Hold on.
Well, because you can make the stuff like F-Zero America because
Oh,
it's
it was
pixel
F-Zero,
art. It's
yeah.
it's 2D
Right.
pixel art, so you can make it. It's a lot of work, but you can make it. The thing
Yeah.
with Dreams is you can individually 3D sculpt it,
Yeah.
you know, and then program that stuff and make the worlds like that.
But
And,
somebody made a
um,
a
if you look
3D
it up,
game
they've done-
using the Labo little programming, and they made a basic but functioning 3D game. And he's like, I'm gonna make this game in Garage Builder. And I guess I should have followed that person to see if they ever did, because it was a really impressive. I didn't know the Labo. What was that called? Where you could do little programming things. and he made a 3D game out of it, and it was like, I think it was like a shooter. It was like Doom. That's what it was. It played like Doom 2016.
How did it look?
It looked freaking. It moved really good. It was fast. It had similar power ups and
in a
stuff.
garage
I
builder.
don't think Garage Build is going to be able to do that kind of stuff. I don't think it's
He
that
did it in the
No,
lab.
I see. Yeah, I see someone did.
I saw somebody do the Doom-like thing, and
Someone
Garage
also did
Builder,
in
it
Mario
looks
Sunshine.
like, it looks like the rudimentary 3D stuff in Garage.
Yeah, it was rudimentary for sure, but that was using the Labo thing, so that's why I thought maybe.
No, Garage Builder has the same similar kind of engine, I think.
Hold
A
on,
lot of it looks really
not the
similar.
garage we were looking for.
Yeah. It was
Hold on,
real
I'll
garages.
link. I was
Game
gonna link it
Builder
to you.
Garage. 10 game showcase. I usually don't show Game Explain, but I'm curious now we're talking about it. So it made it. Oh, it's a lot of NES stuff. Yeah.
Well, I see.
Zelda.
It's like a lot of Zelda.
There's a Portal
Like
game, it
like-
said.
A lot of
Zelda.
2D
Object
pixels.
looking-
You can make
Okay.
anything you want pixel-wise and then program it. So
Yeah.
pixel flat stuff, you can do whatever you want, but you can't do the level stuff you can do in Dreams. There's no way.
Yeah, this
You
is
can do
looking
some
pretty,
things.
pretty basic.
Rudimentary.
Say what exactly is going on with this game?
So no.
It's supposed to be. It's like
this,
Portal.
is this Garage Builder?
Mhm.
Yeah,
But look at how stiff the 3D movement is. Like,
because it wasn't designed for it. He's like summoning the balls out of nowhere. Oh, I see what he's
throwing
doing.
the ball,
He-
then he runs into the
and the
other.
balls
and
of
it
the portal.
teleports. Yeah.
Yeah, the balls of the portal.
But that's cool, but it's not a game you're gonna
This
actually.
looks pretty good. I didn't think you could
Alright,
do
so
For
that
more
kind
than
of
5
stuff.
minutes.
So yeah, this is another basic looking. I'm just gonna kind of jump through here and see what.
Side scroller.
That's kind of
My
a
girl
cool.
Marin. Let's go.
That's a pretty good recreation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That looks really close,
Got
actually.
like some
Not a
decent
game,
parallax
though.
scrolling on there as well.
Link goes crazy in town. Let's see what this one. See, look, like, I mean, maybe you can add some walking animation, but yeah, that's.
Yeah, you can.
This
you
is
can
not
tell
what I
it's-
thought it was gonna. I thought the Game Builder Garage was gonna be more.
I
where
do like
people
the
were gonna
fact that he
make
has
shit.
different. I like the different pixel animation when he spins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some cool stuff there. Let's see. But just having this basic one character, even though this is.
I think the idea behind Garage Builder is kind of like this Nintendo idea to teach the young generation
Yeah, how to program.
and have fun with it.
How to code.
That's the point with it. And I think with Dreams is really like whatever you can think of, you can make it.
You can make short films in that damn thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's insane.
it's
So-
just a different idea.
Yeah, they're
So,
just very different things.
Before we get out of here, because time flew by, I just want to. What's up, Midnight Owl? She just jumped in.
Owl lady.
I just wanted to mention how the Wii U eShop was booming after E3. All the Metroid games on there were like top of the Wii U eShop charts. Of course, there probably wasn't much, but Fusion, the original, I think Super Metroid is on the Virtual Console. I'm guessing the original Metroid. I'm not sure about Zero Mission.
Zero Mission's there too.
Is it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
people pointed out, like you can play most of the. I don't think Metroid 2 Return of Samus, but that's cool. And I actually was going to. That's how I was going to play Zero Mission. I have the game, but I don't have a DS Lite or a Game Boy Advance to play it. So I was like, I was thinking about buying a DS Lite used, and Robert's like, well, you can get it on the Wii U Virtual Console. And I'm like, that's cool. And I like in Metroid Dread was like #1 on Amazon, and it was in the top 2 or 3 on GameStop's most pre-ordered game at post E3.
Yeah.
Like it was, it might have been #1. And it's like,
It's still up there.
talk about a missed opportunity. Maybe Nintendo didn't think that people would be clamoring to play the previous Metroid games. You announce Metroid
Can you blame
5
them?
for your most popular system. You think you can't. I mean, Super Metroid and the original Metroid are on the Nintendo Switch Online, but you don't. they couldn't just throw those on the eShop for $5 and then have Fusion and Zero Mission on the eShop as separate games. Like, just think how much potential money they might have. I mean, I don't know what kind of work would be involved, but at this
They're making
point,
money now on Wii U.
with the Dread pre-orders, maybe they'll be like, wow, maybe we should have the previous 4 games available to play on the Switch via the eShop.
Because only 2 of them are available right now.
And
How
then
could they not think of that as
I
a
have
company?
Samus Returns, the original Game Boy on my 3DS.
yeah,
you
the
have
3D
it?
you can
Yeah,
play
they
it.
only do Samus
It came
Returns.
free with the 3DS remake.
Did it?
Oh, over here it
Yeah,
fucking
you
did.
get the
Hmm.
download
you can
codes
unlock it.
in a special edition. Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, I didn't.
Really?
But
Damn.
and
You have to
maybe
remember that the original Game Boy had a virtual console on the 3DS. There's tons of stuff. on it.
Yeah.
what do you guys think
Did
about?
Amiibo do it, or-
What would you think if they had? Because Metroid Dread was being made. Would you think it'd be better to release Metroid Dread and see that people want it, and then maybe they could bring Samus Returns a port to the Switch? Or would you have think that it would have been smarter to have that out first? And it doesn't have to be to the level of. I mean, they could do, like I said, on the eShop, they could have made it. Hey, this is a 3DS game. You know, they could have cleaned up the visuals for sure. But I'm just
Yeah.
torn.
At the end of the day,
People
at the
saying
end
when
of the day,
Samus
you're
Returns
talking.
came out.
Should have been on the
saying?
Switch.
Why does this shit on Switch? Right. So they know people would buy it. It's not like they don't know people are gonna buy this shit. They have to know that. You have to know that the people want that on this. People want every goddamn game on the Switch.
So it's like-
this is stuck on the GameCube, and this is stuck on the Wii. The Wii that sold 100 million units. This is stuck over there. By the way, so why don't you? I mean, and this is technically Metroid's anniversary as well.
Mhm.
Like that could have been something you could have dropped easy. Boom. You don't want to do anything too crazy? Just drop those games on the freaking eShop and call it a day for Metroid's anniversary. People would have been crazy. And then do it at the same time. Show Metroid Dread, and then bam. Oh, do you want to get caught up on the series? Here's bam, 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 bam,
Mhm.
bam. Yeah. People would have. Shit would have sold out digitally if they had done it on the eShop.
It went
It's
crazy.
a no-brainer
Even with
to me.
it went crazy in sales on the Wii U, a dead system, without them doing any of that. So
Right.
if you had done it like that, like it would have made
It
the
don't matter
money
to me, 'cause
back
I got
to
all these fucking
development
games.
of that
I
shit.
don't care. It don't matter to me. I got all these games, but as a
But it's
business,
free money.
a smart business move, that's what you do.
Yeah, we're talking about they release all these old games and they these NES Japanese only like niche games they
Obscure.
remake Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Maybe that was a higher thought of spin-off, but
No,
And
I mean people liked it, but I don't think it was that.
I
great.
forgot. I'm glad T brought it. I forgot people were like, "Why is Samus Returns coming to the 3DS? The Switch is out. Everyone's hyped for the Switch. Why the hell is this coming to the 3DS?" And it didn't do well on the 3DS. That should have been on that's one of the few like where I would have been like, "Yes, this makes total sense. Bring Samus Returns to the Switch." And especially now that we know Dread's coming, no one's going to be mad about that.
No.
And unless
That
they
was fucking embarrassing.
unless
how
they
bad
try to
that
charge
sold on the
60 and they
3DS.
don't, if they just took, I don't know how if the engine's the same and it's a modified version of Samus Returns on Switch or it's a brand new engine, I don't know. But if it is a modified version, it's already working on Switch. You could have somebody port that, and I've already been like, man, I'm gonna replay all the Metroid games before Dread. It's been a while since I played through.
I'm doing it. I think everybody's doing that shit.
Yeah, it's like, and it's like, I call them greedy all the time and releasing all these old games. And here, not the one time, but a time it makes a lot of sense where I'm like, damn. And there's money being left on the table. It's like, I don't understand them. Like, they love
Just
profit.
in this case, we know the recent harrowing years that Metroid has been through, and we want this IP to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So we want them to do every fucking thing that they can, even releasing old shit again.
But just
Even
from
though
their
it's like,
perspective.
I joked around about like Advance Wars when I jumped on Twitter. I said I don't need remakes because I had all the original games because I was there and I bought all the original games. And now Advance Wars again remade, and everyone's going nuts about it, saying I can't wait to play this. But then at the same time, it's strange how people are picking and choosing, because I don't see everyone running off to the Wii U to download the Advance Wars games
They're all there, all 3 of them.
Are they? I didn't even know that.
That were there. Yeah, the only one that's not on there is Days of Ruin, but
no one talking
it's because
about
I don't know,
Wars,
man. If this was Advance Wars, whatever if it's 3 or 4,
I think because Metro is more popular.
But yeah, that. But I think if they were like, this is Advance Wars, what would it be for? Was there?
It would be.
Was there a number 3 game? I don't know.
No, well, I had this argument as well. I'm like,
but either way, the point is, if they said Advance Wars 4 or whatever, I think maybe you would have seen some people clamoring to try to play the first games versus, well, why would I go clamor to buy 1 and 2?
Why would you go back and buy the game they're gonna make look better? So why would
it'd be Advance Wars 5, but I had the same argument with someone on Twitter about Beautiful Joe. I'm like, come on, Capcom, give me Beautiful Joe 3. Then obviously someone comes on, there was a 3rd game, it was Red Hot Rumble. I was like,
wasn't that old DS game?
I was like, I don't remember that having a number 3 on it or being even mentioned as number 3 in the game or anything. They're like, it doesn't, but it is the 3rd game. I'm like, well, if that's the case, what fucking number Grand Theft Auto are we on? What fucking number anything are we fucking on? Like,
Wait,
25.
If you're saying that, does that mean Hey Pikmin is not Pikmin 4?
yeah, exactly. It's just like, come on.
Well, yeah, so
you always get these people on Twitter.
The thing with Metroid Dread, though, and I have to say it again, because I said it when Samus Returns. I can't believe we're getting another show. Metroid Dread needs to fucking sell. And I don't want to hear people say, like, oh, but like the Switch has sold like 80 fucking million. It's going to sell. Bitch, the 3DS was at like 80 million. And that thing sold like
that's
shit.
not the same
and
thing.
I don't like it when people say, like, oh, but it's a remake. Man, that looks nothing.
I don't even think it was a remake. I think it was the fact that you put it out.
It was a new 3D great Metroid game, and it sold like shit. I'm just afraid that Metroid just has become so niche that if this game doesn't sell,
but it came out. Everybody who likes Metroid is gonna buy fucking Dread. Everybody who likes, so you can't get mad at people who are gonna buy it anyway.
You're mad at the casuals for not getting
mad at the casuals who don't care. I mean, it's not their fault. I mean, I can't blame them for not liking Metroid.
But
at the same time, the timing.
Didn't pick up the 3DS remake.
Yeah, but Samus Returns.
They're not the ones complaining. Where's Metroid? They don't care. So it's like
the other problem is that Samus Returns was the end of the 3DS era game. Like it's like fucking Ever Oasis or some shit. That's what it was. Right. It came out way too late.
The matter is that no one wanted to play the 3DS anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Switch was out.
So
it was literally out for by the time that was 2 months into the Switch's life. They announced Samus Returns for the 3DS.
Even in the height of the, I know what you're going to say, but I feel like I'm going to say the opposite. I feel like even if Samus Returns came out in peak 3DS, I don't think it would have sold.
I disagree.
Anyway,
if it came out before Federation Force,
in place of Federation Force, I think it would have done 2 million.
I agree with that.
I really do. Because I think people blew their loads.
I wonder if Federation Force has any numbers.
Game and they're just like, screw it.
Because was VG Chart still doing stuff? I haven't gone to that site in forever. I don't know if
you want to know how many Samus Returns? You know how it did?
I was thinking Federation Force.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I
was looking at Federation.
Last time I checked.
Did 500.
500,000.
Yeah.
That's bad for Metroid, but that's not bad.
80 million install base at that point. I think the 3DS was some ridiculous fucking number.
I'm just saying. Skyward Sword did on the Wii at the end.
I disagree with T even because he's like after Federation Force, it just bombed. I'm like, no, after Federation Force, you had to show that that's what you fucking wanted to buy.
Is that an indication? Is that an indication of the core Metroid fan base as well? Because we got that indication of the core Nintendo fan base with the Wii U, 10 million strong, in terms of die-hard Nintendo fans.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Yeah.
10 million strong.
That's why I'm saying.
Remember, we always said the casuals make up 90% of the market.
But you had games on that system that super overperformed based on the install base.
That's why I agree with T. if it had came out in place of Federation Force, it would have done better.
The fever pitch for Metroid at that point was very high. The rumors were going crazy.
Yeah.
It was the perfect time to have
It
dropped
literally,
Samus Returns.
it was just they picked the wrong.
I don't think it
game.
was because we were coming off of an M. And
Yeah, but that was, at that point, that
This
was
is a
like
traditional Metroid game. You're getting a reimagining.
Yeah, I know,
That
but
was like
it
over
still
half a decade ago. That's the other
even
thing.
at the end of the 3DS life, where most poor Nintendo fans will still have their 3DS. 500,000.
Well, the other
Metroid
problem
fans.
is, the other problem is that it was a remake.
Well, that I was just looking, and I don't know how official it is. Federation Force apparently sold 150,000. So I mean, it was 4 times the amount.
Yeah, it did way worse.
I just think if that came out in 2016, Samus Returns, it would have been at least double sales. Like,
yeah, it just came out too late.
It came out in
50,000. Unless it's a new Metroid Hunters or something, I don't think Nintendo are ever going to touch a co-op Metroid game again.
That was my least favorite part of Federation.
That's the
Metroid
tragic
Federation
thing about
Force is a decent, good game. It's a decent to good game.
But the way
it
came
plays
out,
good, but the structure.
the way it was
of
announced, yeah, the way it came out and it was announced, just hold the shit.
and
up.
the character designs,
Everybody
everything.
dragged that goddamn game.
Why it was fine up until you realized it was a Metroid thing and you went, oh fuck.
Oh.
But it played.
Blast Ball. Blast Ball was cool, right?
Blast Ball's a good.
What's going on?
Yeah, Blast Ball's a fine game once you realize, and then you're like, oh fuck,
Wait,
it's a Metroid.
But it actually played really
Metroid,
well.
man.
Federation Force controlled and played like it felt like a Metroid game.
Yeah, it wasn't a
just-
bad game.
Great.
And some
it
of the
wasn't a bad
levels are
game.
fun, but having to rely on other people is what really brought it down.
They tried to make a
It was-
multiplayer
you have to
focus game
remember,
on
it was
3DS.
Metroid Prime Federation Force, so it's
Yeah, it
still
was Metroid Prime.
And the chibi design, it was just a cluster of bad ideas. But just, I mean, you look at
called Metroid TM Federation Force. He would have been cool, I think. At least a lot better.
I'm just saying. I agree with T in the sense that if Samus Returns came out earlier, they would have done better.
we
I
will
don't think-
never know.
Because
But if-
in the
what if
real-
it came-
We will
here's
see
my
how well
thing.
Dread's gonna do.
But here's my thing though. Most of the people who end up buying Dread outside of the core Nintendo fan base are buying it because we're still in Switch hype.
Yeah.
Games are still coming out, and it's the only Nintendo system out. It's the newest Nintendo system out. People, the good thing about casuals, they can get caught up real quickly on some bullshit.
it's going to sell 2 million just based on it.
They get caught up in the
I
fever.
have
Coming
no
out
doubt
on
in
the
my mind.
Switch.
Definitely.
And I think Samus
Yeah.
Returns would probably be at 2 million now if it came out on Switch
Dread is
instead
going
of
to do
3DS.
3 million plus.
Yeah.
Because casual is going to, like you said,
I
casuals
hope-
get caught up in the fever.
I
Yeah.
hope it will.
They want to
But
be
they don't
part
know
of it
nothing.
too.
Yeah, they don't know nothing about what's going on. But fucking
the problem with
women
Metroid,
in suits and shit. They
I saw a video the other day where a guy was like, "I've never played Metroid games until Dread. I'm getting Dread."
Yeah.
the problem with Metroid, I feel, is that maybe Metroid right now is lucky that people are like starving for new shit on the Switch. I don't know. The problem with
Really?
with Metroid in general, I feel, is that it's a much smaller fan base than people think it is. We all love it. We remember Prime from the Cube era. Anybody who has never played Zelda or Mario, for example, and then releases a new one, people who don't know anything about it will get hyped for it. You won't get that from Metroid. You just won't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
3
going
million
to sell.
Cube
It's not going to
is pretty damn
sell
good.
Breath of the Wild or Odyssey
No,
numbers,
it's not
but
gonna go crazy, but it'll do well.
I'd be
for
shocked
it.
if it's not
No.
easily the highest selling Metroid game.
I'm just saying, like,
Based
I
on
think it's
just based on the
I'm just-
pre-order hype.
yeah,
do
I'm
3 million to be
saying,
better.
I don't
Yeah,
I don't
I'm-
get it because it's such a I mean I feel sorry for Metroid because when we see games like Ori, when we see games like Hollow Knight, busting out the millions, you know it's not a genre thing. People love the genre. Yeah, people love the gameplay ideas. So it's just like, how can the originator that has been for
Well,
the
it's
most
been
part,
19 years since they put out a game, new game.
That doesn't
well,
help.
it's not just 2D, but it's Metroid. It's the character. It's the universe and everything. That doesn't fundamentally change just because you're playing in first person with the Prime games.
Yeah, but
You know,
people
that-
love
all that
Samus.
stuff.
To me, it's a lot simpler than I think people think it is. To me, it's timing.
Yeah.
Super Metroid did great on NES for what it should have done. Super Metroid did great on Super Nintendo, right? Nobody's complaining about it not selling well there. Then you go a whole generation without a Metroid game, right? And then you get to the GameCube, which didn't do well. The system itself underperformed. So even though Metroid Prime did really well, 2.8 million, I think, something like that. It could have done better had the system sold better, right? So the system didn't sell that well.
And Fusion launched same day, and that...
right. It was just a bad timing situation for the GameCube. You had 9/11 happen. It was just a different time. Then you get to the Wii. Then you got a bunch of goddamn soccer moms and grandparents on the Wii who would never touch Metroid. That did nothing for them. So you had the core fan base from the GameCube going over to that, and then you had Other M, which a lot of people didn't like, right? So
it's still sold, right? And so Other M still sold well. That was the irony of it all.
I think Metroid would do better had. I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with Metroid. I just think a lot of it is timing based. If you look at the history of Metroid,
also missing two consoles.
Yeah, you missed out on consoles.
3D console and Nintendo's first HD console.
Right. So he missed out on Wii U.
When you go 19 years without a true new 2D game, and you got all these indies and other companies excelling with that formula, like, you didn't love Axiom Verge, but that game was so Metroid in so many ways.
I love that.
I know Clock
did enjoy it, but you're right. I didn't love it.
Ori's super well received. Hollow Knight super well received. What was the other one? The Guacameles, the SteamWorld Digs. Those games are doing well because Metroid just nowhere to be found. So it's really hard to say.
But they also benefit from that term Metroidvania.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that wasn't a term, who knows if those games would be as popular? Oh, here's another game in the Metroidvania, kind of genre. And then
let's not go thanking the Castlevania PlayStation fanboys now, please.
I just wonder where Metroid would be if they had at least one per generation released, like a top tier 2D Metroid game. I just wonder. But anyway, we gotta call it a night. We gotta wrap this up.
Metroid went as Nintendo went. That's why I feel.
And I think Dread
was so good.
I think the timing is just perfect, because if Dread had come out right before Breath of the Wild 2 or something, it might have got lost in the shuffle. But it's without question the biggest Switch game for the second half of the year. I don't think there's any question at this point. It might not sell as well as that Mario Party remade. It's kind of a remake overall, but it's definitely the one people are talking about the most. And if you're subscribed to Robert Rule 2, you think it's the biggest game ever, and you get a daily video about it. So it's going to be in people's minds. And
I hope, like I said, I hope every stinking casual buys that game. Just as long as it's just sell it. I don't give a fuck.
And it's the biggest game again during Zelda's 30. Metroid Dread is the biggest game during Zelda's 35th anniversary. It's that weird Nintendo stuff, man. It's weird.
I'm curious how much the reveal trailer views it has at this point.
I don't even know if you guys saw it, but people on Twitter were going crazy over that when some people were looking over the treehouse footage and going, "Oh shit!" When Samus is near a wall and she's shooting an enemy, she puts
her hands on the wall.
And people were like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "Yo, this is dumb."
I love how the programmer retweeted that, and he's like, they noticed, it's so good when you see.
But it's so funny that Nintendo finally added something that I've noticed in 3D games for a long time. Like, oh, that's so cool. The character's aware. So the announcement trailer, the separate announcement trailer, only has 1.2 million views. So I was hoping it'd be a little higher. But even I want to say Odyssey and stuff was at probably 3 million a couple weeks after E3. So that's not
all the reaction videos I uploaded during E3 I even uploaded the separate Zelda one and stuff. My Metroid Dread got the most views out of those. Like,
Yeah.
people are legit
It's the
excited
most
for it.
hype.
Yeah, same for
Let's
me.
look at like a reaction mashup
Besides,
and see. Yeah, 12, 10, 14,000 views. So we'll see. But I think it's going to do really well. The Switch, pretty much guarantees that it'll at least do 1 million. I'm almost guaranteed just because it's on the Switch and it's a first party Nintendo game. I don't think there's been really one that hasn't. So, but anyway, we got to get out of here. It's getting late, and appreciate everybody for tuning in. Good discussion, guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.
Yes, sir.